good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Going down again. That's Q. Red Williams.
Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
Excuse my French, Kyle, but son of a bitch.
Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I got 2 hours of sleep. I was not planning on having a couple of drinks tonight, but I have to. I have to drink the pain away, I guess. I think that's like the first sign of an alcoholic, but welcome to Blewett's Blitz. A lot of things or many topics to discuss tonight. Obviously, some of the training camp updates, a little bit of our thoughts after watching some of the broadcast angle, the film of the preseason games after watching it back. We will do our 53-man roster prediction, which in the last couple of hours took a hit and we had to substitute one guy in or one guy out, so that's something we had to change a little bit. But obviously a lot to discuss, Kyle. But before we get into that, are you Mr. at Kyle J. Smith still?
Yeah.
You've been tweeting a little bit more, like responding to some stuff, liking some stuff. Today you went at whoever that clown was, Michael, whatever. I'm not going to say his full name because I shouldn't mention people's names directly. But the guy who was basically saying
he's talking about fans crying like over, dude, a borderline potentially could be elite edge rusher if he, turned out this season the way he was in camp and the way that his talent shows. And fans are upset about it. You haven't had an edge rusher in 15 years. And this guy's saying fans shouldn't cry about it. This motherfucker is an adult who's like, I don't know, probably in his 50s or something like that, who collects cards of players and maybe even sells them. I don't know, which is fine. He's a fan. Fans get passionate about things. And he wants to talk about crying. This motherfucker cried all offseason about Darnold. They didn't support Darnold. Darnold failed because of gays. Darnold failed because he didn't have an offensive line. So like, this motherfucker's telling fans not to cry. Like, you're the fucking biggest crybaby on Twitter. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Kyle coming in with the heat. Yeah, I saw you were angry. And then somebody like found one of his tweets and he was concerned about an injury to like Terry McLaurin or like one of these other receivers from like a decent team. So yeah, tell fans that the edge rusher they haven't had, like you said, in 15 to 20 years, who you could argue is the best player on the Jets, is going down for a season-ending ACL or Achilles tear. And to not be like, oh, it doesn't matter. You're not supposed to compete. So every single team with good players, if their best player goes out, it doesn't matter. They're not going to compete anyway. So who cares about injuries? Like, who gives a shit then? Like, it's just, that was the most baffling thing in general. But I actually got an email from, I'm not going to say his last name, but Rob, he was one of our guys in the Pick'ems last year. And he was just like talking about it, the show and whatever. And then he said, the more he watches you, the more you grow on him, Kyle. And I said, you're kind of like a fungus, but you are, but you dropped a couple of mother effers in there, which you normally don't do as maybe as frequently as I do, but I can tell you're a little bit heated. But there's a lot of, I mean,
do you want to talk about Lawson now, or do you want to wait for it? I mean, you're the host.
I really don't want to talk about it at all.
Right.
Yeah, we have to, obviously.
We don't have to get into, I'll just say this.
Go. Well, let's go. Go ahead. Full dive. Obviously today against the Packers. We don't know how it happened exactly. Probably on an edge rush snap, exploding off the line, tears his Achilles, which now we spoke a little bit pre-show, like compounded with the fact that he's tore both of his ACLs and had a bunch of other hamstring or at least another hamstring injuries. Like, the guy has a bunch of injuries to his legs, and the Jets aren't really expecting to compete this year, but in the year 2 and 3 of his contract, you're expecting to compete. But now is he a guy you can rely on to one, stay healthy, to two, get back to the level he was supposed to be at on that contract, so there's multiple questions around this. And now next year, maybe you feel after a really good year of Lawson, you have that position locked up. And now it just adds to another one of your needs, because now you need another edge rusher next year, regardless if he comes into camp healthy or not. But let's just break this down kind of, brick by brick, because there's a lot of obviously ways we can go. But the fact that there's other people out there telling fans not to worry and not to cry is an absolute joke. And these are the exact people who you should not follow, who you should not read their articles. There's better stuff out there, but they are trying to get you riled up, which they are. And they won. He won with me today because we're talking about him. I quote tweeted him. You responded to him. So we lost, but that's, we're not supposed to. You have to stay away from that stuff because that's what they get off on. The guy's probably a loser, who gets off on fan interaction. Like I know a guy personally in my real life, actually, who's a family friend. The only way he knows how to interact is to argue. And I've almost put him through the wall before because he says that golf is more interesting than football. And I almost had to fight him. But like this guy seems like one of those losers who probably like his mom and dad are probably his only friends still. So it is what it is. But let's go brick by brick, Kyle.
Yeah, sure.
By the way, sorry. Lewis, Orpheus, Jan, Ryan, Verge, Mike, Eagle. Obviously, Eagle's always here. Evan, appreciate you guys. And by the way, really quickly too, sorry, Kyle, to kind of break this up. I think my housekeeping, but we kind of went through a different direction. We have a 16-team fantasy league with JetX guys. It's only $25. If you're a subscriber to the website, then you could join. We only have 5 spots left, but it's me a 16-team league, so it's a little bit more in depth. I like that. And then I'm going to allow 4 more people into the pick'ems. We have 6 people in the pick'ems. You win the pick'em, I'll most likely give away a free shirt or 2, maybe a shirt and a year subscription, something like that. But let me know. Email me, Joe.Blewett at jetsxfactor.com, or just throw it in the chat or whatever, comment after. But I would like to get some of you guys involved and, just throwing out there because we only have 4 to 5 spots left. Another announcement really quick. This stream is going to be a weekly thing now for the rest of the season. Kyle's going to do it every other week. And then Nanya and Sabo are going to do it with me the week after that. Sabo won't be able to do it. Sometimes he's busy as hell behind the scenes doing everything for us, but it's going to be at least Nanya and I, maybe Sabo sometimes, and then Kyle and I. And then I think in the offseason, Kyle will probably do, I'll probably do something like every other week with, Nanya and then with you, and we'll increase the load a little bit. But just based on the reaction we had last show, which again, I appreciate a lot of you being 200 plus people in there at 2:00 in the morning. I figured why not just step up and do a freaking weekly thing, So that was the decision I made. So I'm looking forward to talking to everybody in the chat in the future, every single Thursday night, 6:00. So Kyle, with that, go ahead.
Wow. No one puts out content like Jets X Factor. So that's good news. So someone tweeted at you, me, Nanya, and the Jets X Factor Twitter handle, which by the way doesn't follow me, but anyway, said that Saleh lost Bosa last year and still produced a great defense. We got good depth, even if it's the worst case scenario. There's still confidence this defense can be decent. All right, so this person's an optimist, and in a way, I kind of want to give the person credit. Yeah, this is a huge blow. Period. Yeah, there is no replacing it. This is the worst possible thing. I mean, listen, quarterback is the most valuable position in all sports. No question about it. What is the most valuable position in football outside of quarterback? It is edge rusher. It's guys who can get to the quarterbacks. Just look at the salaries. All right. And that right there will tell you what is the most valuable. Yeah. And compare the 49ers defense last year versus what it was 2 years ago when they almost won a Super Bowl when they had Bosa. This is an enormous loss. It's an enormous loss. There's no downplaying it. Now, you could say that, oh, well, if Saleh's a really good coach, he can still find ways to scheme and get pressure. It's not the same, though. It's just not the same. And Rex would kind of brag about this. This was one of the things, like, of course, Rex wanted an edge rusher when he was with the Jets. He never had a good one. But he would kind of brag that he could still manufacture pressure off of blitzes and stuff and get pressure on the quarterback. But
it'd be a problem. It'd be a problem if you can't manufacture pressure off of blitzes. But
yes, you son of a bitch.
I'm just saying, I'm bringing more guys than they're blocking with. I can create pressure. Congratulations. It's like the Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens who do it well with like those tag and hug rushes. Like those are the rushes that actually mean something. But continue. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But
we're both going to be dicks tonight. Let's be honest. We're both going to be assholes to each other, take down each other. And let's just apologize pre us arguing, because Kyle's one of my good friends. But I'm going to take some anger out on him tonight. So.
I'm going to cancel your McDonald's order so you don't get it again.
Dude, update from that. I never clicked confirm.
I know. I got home.
No, it never came. Right. And then I ordered a Wawa, and then I looked at the thing. It was like, oh, it's gonna be here in like 45 minutes. I'm like, nope, cancel that order. I ate like $14 on it because I canceled the order and got like $4 back because they already started making it. I was like, I'm just going to bed. I was like, so, but continue. Sorry, that was for the people who were with me at 2:30 in the morning that day.
And your wife made and brought home all this food. And I don't know why you didn't eat some of that. But anyway,
question my decision making at the time.
You can only scheme pressure so much, and this is part of the reason why Rex would get burned. We were talking about this when we were watching the game. One of the things that would piss me off with watching Rex's defenses is they'd be real. I mean, he always had good run defense. I wouldn't say always, especially the first 2 years. The run defense is really, really good, especially in the 2010 team. But it could be like 3rd and long, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, and at a higher rate than you would think. They would give up a first down. But part of it's because Rex is, he's having to bring blitzes. And sometimes when you bring blitzes, sometimes you get burned. Anyway, but this is kind of what I was thinking about when I saw the injury. I was at the gym working out and trying to burn off some steam. Teams lose players all the time, like a game here, a game there, 2 games here, 3 games here. But when you have a player of this caliber out the whole season, eventually teams, so like Salah for a couple games might be able to manufacture some pressure for some blitz packages. But those blitz packages will not work over the course of an entire season. Take like the Patriots, for example, when they won their last Super Bowl back in 2018. They ran a lot of that odd mac zero, cover zero blitz package, but they only pretty much unraveled it during the playoffs, their 3 playoff games. They didn't use it all year. And I kind of believe that Belichick saved that mostly for a playoff run. If he was doing that all year, that would have put more film out there for other teams to see. And eventually they would have been able to adapt to it. So when Lawson's out all year versus missing like 3 games mid-year or something like that, you can only manufacture pressure so much. And if you keep using some of those same blitz packages, eventually you're putting that on tape. Teams will game plan against it. So this is a huge loss. There's no 2 ways about it. You could very well make the argument that, this is other than Wilson going down, this is the biggest loss possible for this team.
Yeah, no, it probably,
because no one else can do what he can do. Like if you lose Quinnen, you still got Sheldon Rankins, who's, obviously a significant step down.
Yeah.
But nobody else can do what Lawson can. And Bryce Huff, even if Bryce Huff develops into a good player, he does not have that level of athleticism, and he will never have that. He won't be that level of caliber or pass rusher that Carl Lawson is, period.
Yeah, I would say mine, like just because of like the youth and like the development of a Zach Wilson, I'd probably say Wilson, then probably Becton. But then again, you have Fant who can step in there too. So like Fant, AVT, Lawson. Yeah, but probably Lawson's too. If you really were to break it down. I see a lot of people in the chat like discussing stuff. We'll get into the chat and kind of get through that. And I'm always like a half an hour behind the chat because I got to get through what I get through. Now, looking at the team and like kind of expectations for it, I kind of I was pretty damn confident they were going to be a top 10 unit. And I had the hope that they could be a top 5 unit. I really thought they could be a top 5 unit, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there, with the low end being 9, 10, like legitimately, because the front's that good and that deep. With this, I think they drop probably about 5 spots. Now I'm expecting 10 to 15 and hoping for 8, 9, 10. Like they're not going to be bad. Like they're still a good defensive line for sure. And now it puts a lot more pressure or a lot more snaps on the bodies of, I think JFM is pretty much strictly edge now. I don't think he sees a lot inside, which is kind of, it hurts him a little bit. Well, it hurts and helps him because he's going to see more reps, which is he's going to be more productive.
I don't think he's going to be strictly edge.
I think he's going to be more edge than
more,
inside.
But I don't think, I wouldn't say strictly.
Not okay. So yeah, he'll flex inside sometimes, but he's going to see a lot more snaps than he would have if Lawson wasn't hurt. So I think you're going to see JFM primarily at edge. You're going to have Huff, Curry, Blair, and maybe like Hamilcar Rashid Jr. at the other edge rotating. And then the inside, you're going to have Rankins, who's going to see a lot more reps now, and Q is going to see a lot more reps now. Now they don't have necessarily the versatility or as much as they did to flex guys in, keep them as rested. So it's definitely a big hit, but listen, a starting defensive line of JFM, Rankins, Q, or Fadakasi, whoever's going to be in, depending on the situation, and Huff, it's not a bad defensive line. And then considering you have the depth we still have, like there's still some depth there, but obviously taking away, arguably your best player, which is also going to free up Quentin Williams a lot. Now Quentin Williams is that main threat, like always, where Lawson could have taken out a lot of that off of him. Q is inevitably going to be less productive this year. So yeah, it hurts a lot. It's just, they'll get over it.
It's going to put more pressure on the defensive backs too, which is our problem. Yeah,
for sure.
By the way, like those Super Bowl Giants teams, they didn't have good cornerbacks at all. Their corners were not good. I mean, like they had that one Sam Madison who was like super washed by that point in his career, who had a good career with the Dolphins, but they just had such a good pass rush that they could just go with 4 guys and consistently get there.
Yeah. So I want to address some stuff in the chat. Obviously there's going to be overreactions right now, Kyle. That just is what it is. But I do want to address some stuff. I'm not being, combative necessarily, but Mike says it's a tragic comment. Got to laugh at it. Orpheus, I think you're relatively new here, but the coaching staff all has to be fired and they suck. Like, how many injuries have the Jets had this offseason? They've had, and knock on wood, I think this is wood. They haven't had a lot of injuries. So yeah, you have a guy who's tore both of his ACLs and had multiple leg injuries. He tears his Achilles. It's a freak accident. We've seen a massive dip in injuries. Like, yeah, Moore's a little banged up, ABT's banged up, but like the last couple of years, we had like double anybody else did on IR in terms of like guaranteed money. So let's not overreact to that. It sucks, but to say it's our coaching staff should be fired, I think that's kind of a little bit crazy.
Dude, people can tear their Achilles coming out of their stance.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's probably what happened. I'm assuming he exploded off the line and tore his Achilles. It's probably what it is now.
Yeah,
but
blaming the coaching staff is beyond.
Yeah, he mentions. I don't want to be too harsh on the guy, but listen, it sucks to have an injury, but you're playing full contact sport, 90 guys. You're going to have some guys get injured. It's just inevitable. Luis Sanchez says he's crying inside. Lawson will never play it down for the Jets. Okay, yeah, he's just being way too over the top. It is what it is. Joe Douglas signings are just as bad as Mac, Eagle Fang says, which Eagle, man, we love you, but don't be crazy here. And then I think he goes on to list some guys. Lawson, it was a good signing at the time. We all love the signing. It's uber productive. Yeah, he had injury risk, but it's still a good signing. You can't, it's a freak injury. You can't, like, was Kevin Durant not a good sign for the Warriors? He got hurt in the playoffs. Like, it's just kind of silly. Mentions Matt Khalil. That was because Jonathan Harrison was the star. It was like the only guy we could sign. So that was like a shot, a shot in the dark. They took it. It didn't work out. Fant, in terms of signing, that was a signing who nobody gave him credit for. I think I was literally the only person in the world who's giving that guy credit for that signing. And for the contract they got him for, him being an average to below average tackle, it's actually a good signing versus a bad signing. Moses is a question. He puts a question mark, but he's getting $5.3 max $1 million. So it's not like he's signing for $10 million a year. So if it doesn't work out, it's going to be $3.5 million. It's not that big of a cap hit, So yeah, he's made some mistakes, the backup quarterback position, the kickers, but to blame the coaching staff and say he's not a good GM now because Lawson, we were so high on this guy a week ago in the way he's building, but because Lawson exploded off the line most likely and tore his Achilles, now we're low on Joe Douglas. Like, let's not lose our mind. And obviously you can never judge, like say, okay, the injury's at a good time, but like imagine if this was next year when we invested another $60 million. We all did all these draft picks.
My dad.
We're legitimately looking to make a run. Like next year, we can make a run. Do I think Super Bowl? No. Do I think they could be in the divisional game next year? And like maybe obviously all the money, all this stuff. Imagine if they had the next year. It's like, yeah, obviously it's never a good time, but we're not competing right now. So it's a little bit less of a blow. Leaves a big hole this season, leaves a big hole even in the future, but let's not get too silly. And I'll keep silly as such a, fruity word, but just address that, Kyle, then we'll move down a little bit.
Yeah, I had the same exact thought with my dad. I was like, if you gave me the option that he had to go down for the whole entire year, either this year or next year, I would take this year because we're realistically speaking, dude, next year we're going to have 2 firsts and 2 twos. Wilson won't be a rookie anymore, right? We'll get it. And I think we have a good amount of cap space next year.
$65 million,
right?
Like
so
top 5.
it's another Joe Douglas draft. And if we're comparing his drafts to McCagnon's, there's really no comparison. So, it's going to be more of his roster, continue to be more of his roster by that point. Realistically speaking, we're much more in a position to compete next year. But I mean, it still sucks. And, one of the things that we were talking about before we started recording, Joe, is, this is always hindsight is 2020 and whatever. But, if you watch Hendrickson versus Lawson, there is no comparison in terms of their talent level. There just isn't. Like, one dude is super explosive, wins very quick, just dominates guys. The other guy is like a good hard-nosed football player, but his stats indicate that he's way better than he actually is.
The Calvin Pace-esque.
Yeah. But I have to, so Joe and I are wondering, I mean, listen, the Bengals are a professional team. They spend, how much is that franchise worth? Hundreds. I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars. Right. So they got a medical staff that was looking over Carl Lawson for years. And I'm just throwing the question out there. I still am very happy and I have no regrets that Joe Douglas signed Carl Lawson. And Monday morning quarterbacking, hindsight is 2020. I know that right now. I'm just saying, like, did the Bengals kind of see, like, is this the reason why we didn't want to give Lawson the long-term contract because of his injury history? Maybe.
It could be a reason.
And also, so let's also just talk about it.
It's not a freak thing. It's happened before to him in terms of lower body stuff. And once you have injuries to one spot, you might put pressure on another spot, and that might be happening. So,
and let's talk about Achilles injuries. So the great Michael Nania, co-owner of JetsXFactor.com, I asked him because, he's really good at searching this type of stuff up. I said, do you know of any players that have had good careers post tearing their Achilles? He said Jason Peters and Terrell Suggs are the two best examples that I could find. Then he said there's also Kevin Durant. That's basketball. And then I saw that the one Jets beat reporter said that Cam Wake also tore his Achilles at 33 years old and still was pretty productive after. I don't know that he ever quite got to the level that he was, but he was still pretty explosive after. But I'm not like an exercise scientist or anything like that, but I imagine that Achilles is really important for getting out of your stance really quick.
Oh, yeah, it's an explosive movement.
And Lawson is, that's one of the best aspects of his game. So, and I know that sports medicine has gone a long way in terms of ACL tear repairing. Like, if you remember, when Terrell Davis tore his ACL back in the late 90s or early 2000, whenever it was, he was never the same player after it. But sports medicine in the last couple decades has come a long way, and torn ACLs are, of course it's season ending, but so many players come back from it and can have a really good year the next year.
Yeah.
Achilles, I don't know that, and I'm kind of speculating a little bit here, but there seems to be a lot less examples of players still thriving in their career after a torn Achilles.
It's possible. It's just less likely than an ACL. So it's not like he can't. I'm not saying he can't come back and this is the end of Carl Lawson and the Jets. Like, he's going to be here next year no matter what. So we'll see how he produces next year. And then maybe you sign him to a longer term contract, and it's obviously based, there's stipulations based on injury. You kind of have to have that now with a player like this who's had multiple injuries, but it's not the end of Lawson. It's the end of him this year, which is brutal. But let's just like take the positive aspect, which I really don't want to do. If Rankins plays near what he did in 2018, Q keeps taking steps in the right direction. Huff showed what he did last year in a limited role and in the preseason game. And then you have a combination of, JFM, who is I like JFM a lot, Curry, Blair. This is still a good defensive line that has a chance of being a top 10 unit. Legitimately, it does. I'm not just saying that. But it's a lot less likely now.
Huff would have to take an enormous step for
I think you'd have to have positives with every one of those players taking steps in the right direction. And that's usually not the case. So I wouldn't bank on it. But I would say they're probably going to be around like the 10th best, 10th, 11th, 12th best unit, where I legitimately thought they could have been 4, 5, 6, so it is what it is. Mike, you said you sent me an email the other day. You're down to join, I guess, the fantasy, which means we only have 4 spots left now. I didn't get the email though. So you have to make sure you send it to Joe.Blewett at Jets with an S, xfactor.com. I'll let you in, obviously. So now we're down to 4 spots. And then Jan Katz Nelson said I'll do the pick'em. So Jan, same thing, send me an email. And now we're down to 3 in the pick'em. So we have 3 more spots in the pick'ems, 4 more in the fantasy league. So I'm excited to do that with some of you guys. And Assassin, you're already in the pick'em. So Nick Integra, happy to see you guys streaming.
Yeah, Assassin in second place.
Drown my sorrows. People are talking about Zuniga. And if he makes a team now, we're going to do our 53-man roster prediction. But Kyle, I'm confident in this because I didn't hear anybody talking about it. I have to be the only person to talk about Tanzel Smart. How are people not talking about Tanzel Smart in that preseason game? Which we'll keep moving on through the chat. But he played really well. I don't know why nobody's talking about Tanzel Smart.
I think because it's already kind of a stacked position, and
gotta be fair to those lower guys fighting for a roster spot too. You know, that just is what it is.
Yeah, but I'll give you credit there too. And I don't spend hours upon hours on Twitter every day. And there are a bunch of people who put out good content out there. I don't really listen to much Jets podcasts and stuff just because, I talk with you. So I kind of already have an in like that. So I feel like I don't need to as much. And also I kind of want to be a little bit more original in my thinking is kind of part of it as well. But I haven't heard anyone else talking about Tanzel Smart other than you. And yeah, he played pretty well. I like that one play where he, I can't remember. I think he was shooting the B gap, and then the run popped outside, and then he was able to get his head. He was able to get his head on the other side. And
I said it looked like he was like slanting or like lagging.
Yeah, that was a good play.
It was a good play. Get the outside arm free. But we'll keep moving on. Orpheus, man, you're definitely new, but they just hired a whole new staff in terms of like athletic, medical people and all this stuff. And they actually fired everybody from last year, so it's whatever. What's up, Verge? Rookie coach showing his colors because a guy exploded off the line and tore his ACL. You are wild, my man.
These are like
Vic, John Rogers.
He should be like referred to like that freezing cold takes Twitter account.
Good morning, guys, from down under Australia. John Rogers. I remember you in here a couple. I don't know if it's last stream or the one before that, but what's up? Brady, the Indy. Okay, I'm trying to. Somebody says here comes a Quinnen hate again. Who's hating on Quinnen? We are not. I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's.
I didn't hate on Quinnen today. Today I didn't.
If you think I'm hating on Quinnen, trust me. I would say I wouldn't trade him for Donald straight up a couple of weeks ago. We had a whole argument about it. So
dude, Joe loves Quinnen.
Okay, moving on. Who knows?
You should have wore your Quinnen jersey today.
I can go put it on when I go to the bathroom. Inevitably, I'll throw it on real quick.
Yeah, hopefully you meet your mic this time when you go.
This bathroom's like a wall away, where that one's more of a clear shot. You saw the layout of my house, so and it was funny too. And somebody was trying to troll me, and he admitted he was trying to troll me. Just like being honest, and he was like, "Oh, it's look at all the stuff that's possible from your parents' bedroom or whatever." I commented back, I'm like, "Yeah, the house I bought, like this is my house, bro."
I saw that.
Yeah, no, he admitted he was trying to be a dick, so that's kind of funny. But I was watching to Kyle. It sucks. Like there's no way to get over it. You can't get over it. It's time. We mentioned it before. Listen, the last like multiple big players the Jets got, right? Like we can even go back to 2015. Revis came back. He sucked. Marshall was good for a year. The next year he sucked. We signed Tremaine Johnson. He sucked for a big contract. CJ Mosley. I know it's before that. Adams, you bring him in. He's great. You have to trade him because he's an asshole. You bring in Sam Darnold. He's great his first year. Then he sucks. Tremaine Johnson, I mentioned it. Bring him for big contract. He sucks. CJ Mosley lights it up the first game. Probably the best game I've ever seen from a linebacker, or one of the best games I've ever seen for a linebacker. Legitimately, amazing game. Tears his groin, and now you get Carl Lawson, who all you hear about all freaking camp is how great this guy is. Tears his Achilles. So we've been burned. And Le'Veon Bell too, but we've been burned with big players, the high draft picks, all this stuff. So I get it. Would
you say this is the biggest injury the Jets have had since Revis in 2012? Revis tears his ACL in Miami in 2012.
Like relative to the impact it would make on the roster.
Yeah. I mean,
it has to be. There's no competition.
And that happened early in the year too, and we still had faith that maybe they can make a playoff push too.
Like in terms of like the arrow shot in my chest, I would say this and
Dude,
this wasn't as long term, so it wasn't as bad. But like when Darnold went down with mono for those a couple of games, I was like, dude, the season's over, dude. Like,
Matt, remember a couple of years ago when Avery went down in the preseason, how upset we were? And we both loved Avery. Yeah. This is way worse. Way worse. Because you're so much more optimistic for this team, and Lawson is a better player at a much more valuable position. And Indy. All right. So Indy, I see Indy said something in the chat. I'm going to address what he said.
Yeah,
he said my comment on the Quinnen hate was when Kyle mentioned that Quinnen was replaceable, but Lawson was not. I think you're kind of misconstruing what I said a little bit.
No, you're not. He's a hater.
I didn't say that Quinnen was replaceable. Go back, listen to the replay. It's a great thing about this. It's recorded. I said something along the lines of Quinnen to Rankins is a significant drop off, but it's much less so of a drop off than Lawson compared to anyone else.
Yeah,
plays his position. That's what I said.
But if I had to take one player on the team right now, it's still Q over Lawson, just relative to injury, health, age. I think Q could be a better player at this position than Lawson is. Like I like Q more, but people talk about Nick Chaplin's a good kind of perspective on this. Injuries are a part of the game. Especially football. Lewis Maida, what's up? You're always in here. Joe is right. The D-line is still damn good without him. Not elite, but still damn good. Yeah, it went from, I think, to what could be elite to being a still really solid defensive line. Like I said, even if you just have JFM's good on the edge, if Rankins and Q are what we expect them to be, this defensive line is still really, really good. It is. It's just it went from could be the third best to I think probably topping out at like 7 or 8, but it's still, we'll see. Rusty, what's up, man? Zach said, what's your thoughts about Zach talking to Aaron? Quickly, obviously it's great. Giving him tips about like 2-minute drills and what he looks for in certain plays. It's great. You're learning from one of the goats of the game. So it's obviously a positive.
I wonder how much Aaron is actually telling him. I remember when this was probably, this is going back a while ago now. Because RG3 was still on the Redskins. Oh, they're not the Redskins anymore. The Washington football team.
At the time, it was the Redskins. It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think we're a bunch of softies in here. It's the team name.
And they had group joint practices.
Yeah.
And RG3, is obviously fanboying it up and stuff. This is Tom Brady. And, dude, at that time, Brady was still going to win 3 more Super Bowls, but he had won I think 4 by that point. And RG3 is trying to pick his brain about X, Y, and Z. I guess basically anything possible. And Brady said something along the lines of, you have to wait till I retire before I tell you this type of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
so I wonder how much in depth Rodgers is actually going with some things. And I mean, they're on the field. Like how many minutes are they actually talking with each other too? Like how much depth can they actually get into? Like, oh, on this coverage, I like to do this, so
it's not like he's bunking with Aaron Rodgers, but don't overstate it, but it's something.
Yeah, I think some people are overhyping that a little bit. I mean, it'd be one thing if Zach was in the QB room studying film with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, so like maybe they should get a veteran who can actually help them maybe dissect some film.
Yeah,
that's one area where Joe Douglas has failed miserably to me. But again, really positive on Douglas. The whole QB thing is mind-boggling to me. Just for that exact reason. Obviously, whoever bring in Nick Foles or Nick Mullins aren't Aaron Rodgers, but I can tell you they're better than Mike White and James Morgan.
Yeah. What is Mike White or James Morgan going to teach Zach?
Dude, that one time when I saw another guy take a rep in the season and I haven't taken a rep yet, like, come on. But moving on, Vic, he's like, he got hurt in practice. You not just practice then. Like, exactly, Vic. So like, you can't be mad at the Jets. It's a free thing. You got to direct your energy to a different spot. Like, be angry. Kyle freaking said he was reading a book. He had to go to the gym, go pump some iron. I was sleeping. I told you, Kyle, I went to bed at 11 a.m., woke up at 1 p.m., checked my phone, saw all the shit going on. I was like, I guess I'm not sleeping the rest of the day. So my energy went to nothing, I guess. I'm just like dead right now. But
so when I found out about the news earlier, my wife came up to me and she like wanted to show me something. I was like, I'm fucking pissed. And she's like, why?
Yeah.
And I showed her like the tweet of like him, on the medical cart being taken off the field. And she doesn't really know that much about him. I mean, she's probably heard me mention him a couple of times. And I said, like, yeah, he's really good. And we really haven't had a guy at this position for like a really, really, really long time. And she's smart and she can like really sense like when I'm like really, really, really mad about something. And like, she had like she had like a tear running down her eye for me. And then like, then I had a tear running down my eye, man. Like, that's how upset I am about this. Like, this is.
Yeah. So my wife knows too. Like, she was like, she texted me like, I'm sorry or whatever. But like, you met her the other day and like, she could be kind of an asshole sometimes too, which is like why I love her. Like, we're kind of just like that to each other. Like, she told in front of you, she's like, I can throw a football better than you, just to be like a dick the other day.
And then you're like, you can only throw it 25 yards.
Yeah. It's like, you can't, you can only throw 25 yards. But, and then like, she'll sometimes be like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then other times she'll be like, it's a game. Who cares? It's stupid. I'm like, I hate you.
She knew not to say that at that point because
no. Yeah,
like,
no.
If she were to shit on you and make fun of your team at the end of last season, like it wouldn't really bother you that much. Yeah. I know they suck. But like now, like when there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic and happy, like, so my dad called me before and my dad likes to talk a lot of shit about football and stuff. And he loves to say this phrase, my condolences. Like, like my brother's a Bills fan. My dad's a Chiefs fan, and the Chiefs played the Bills in the playoffs last year. And when the Chiefs won, my dad told my brother, my condolences. Like he just likes to say that. My dad called me saying that. I was like, oh, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
But he really wasn't trying to be though.
Yeah. It's tough, but whatever.
Injuries suck, man. And that's why like,
now the Orpheus guy is saying to practice harder like they did 50 years ago. So you're complaining about injuries, but want to practice harder and have 2 days, there's gonna be more injuries.
You'd be way more injuries, man. Way more. And some people in the chat who might be looking at that guy's comment and saying, oh, well, this coaching staff set up the joint practice meetings and players play harder in the joint practice meetings. So maybe that's why you saw more injuries today, because they're playing against opposing team, which makes them play harder, thus leading to more injuries. It's like,
it's a bunch of conspiracy, whatever. John Rogers, another good perspective. Like he said, we are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. So finishing lower means we had a higher draft pick in every round. This will make us stronger next year.
We don't want to get high draft picks every year.
I get it, but hey, he's trying to be positive, Kyle. Don't give John shit from Australia. He doesn't want any of your shit right now.
Okay. All right, John.
Chris Reynolds said, I blame the injury on Joe Blewett in cap letters. Because I was watching the Jets-Giants breakdown, and he said because of how good Huff looks, the Jets won't need to spend capital on a pass rusher. That's funny. He said he's.
I don't remember you saying that.
I said that. Yeah, I did say that. I said they might not have to spend next year because if Huff turns out to be good, like they have their 2 guys, So,
Huff would have to like really, really like, and just from what I'm seeing and stuff too, like. I couldn't find any pro day measurables for Huff, and I'm pretty sure he didn't go to the combine. Maybe that stuff exists out there. I didn't try to do a super deep search for it or whatever, but just based on what I'm seeing and the fact that he doesn't really have measurables out there, like for Huff to be really, really, really good, he's just gonna have to continue to he's gonna have to be an absolute savagely good technician for him to be really, really, really good, because he just doesn't have that elite level burst, explosion, athletic traits that someone like Lawson has.
A couple of questions in here.
But Huff does have pretty good technique though. And he has a variety of moves. So, there's reason to be optimistic.
Can Q play DN? No, he's not going to play DN. Again, I think JFM sees less reps inside now. You see less of Curry flexing inside because he can play 3-tech at times in like pass rush situations. And now you have Rankins playing a lot more snaps. And you have to hope that Rankins is healthy too. So there's a bit more questions. Ryan Gallagher, who I know has been supporting since the Jet Nation days, which I appreciate you, Ryan. Said updated win total. We predicted 9-7. We both predicted what is it? 9-7 now? No, 9-8.
9-8. And then
I said 8-9 after that.
Then you thought about it and you're like, yeah, because of coaching and just game management related stuff.
I would say I go down a win.
One more loss. I was thinking, but losing Lawson, I say just that one injury, it drops at least a couple of games.
I'm going to say 7-9 now. And I'm going 7-9 because I'm being positive because I put 250 on the Jets going over 6.5. So I really need 7. So I'm going 7. They're going to win 7 games.
Okay.
Which is, whatever. Vic, I think he's saying he's not happy with the chat right now. If there was one time you're going to come to this chat, and usually our chat, like I'll give credit to it because I see other chats, whatever. Our chat's pretty educated. I enjoy our chat. We don't get a lot of blazingly stupid takes in our chat. Oh, which by the way, another announcement too. Jets Talk 24/7. myself, Robbie, and Michael Nania will be rotating during the season every Monday with him. We'll be doing 8 to 9, so an hour of each of us every Monday. So you'll see me every 3 weeks on there for an hour. So if you guys are big fans of that too, you're gonna see more and more and more of me. You're gonna get sick of me.
What's his name? Ryan.
You know what, Kyle? I was thinking, and we'll get into so many freaking topics. Of course, we did not expedite, but we'll move it. Our Thursday. So I really do not like doing streams during games at all. And I'll be much less. I think I'm going to
talk about during a Jets game or during another football game
during the Jets game. So I think we're going to try to do maybe 4 post game, when we can work it out. The only game we're scheduled to do a show for is during the Colts game. Did we think about doing a one live stream during a Colts game?
No, fuck that. We'll do that. We could do that after the game or something.
Maybe I'll do it without you.
But you want to do it during the game?
No, yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I would not be interactive because I'm looking at the screen the entire time.
Or we could maybe do it the day before, or
probably after. We'll probably do it right after the game, 11 o'clock, a late stream.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I mean,
late stream.
I would even take off work the next day.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep moving on before we move on to the rest of the next topics. I can see a top 10 pick in next year's draft. It could happen, but I wouldn't be too down on it.
Dude, this is something we were talking about. I don't know if we did this on the stream, Joe, but we were talking about when we were watching the game this past Saturday. I keep seeing the Draft Network, which is the big mock draft website out there that a lot of people seem to like, and they keep having the Jets pick at 2. And this is pre-Lawson injury. And what? You just must not know that much about the Jets roster and stuff. And you must be really down on Wilson. And you must not think that Robert Saleh is going to be a good coach for you to think this team's going to finish with a 2nd overall pick. And even with this Lawson injury, they will not, I still do not think that they will get anywhere close to the 2nd pick.
Yeah, no, we have another guy saying Becton is so out of shape. This is on Saleh. If you saw videos of Becton coming into camp, he looks the most ripped up you could be for being 360 pounds. You are whacked out, my guy. I appreciate you being in here, but you are whacked.
Yeah. And by the way, check Joe Blewett's timeline on Twitter. Somebody was saying that on Twitter, and Joe Blewett, a big blue check mark person, Charles Robinson or whatever. And Joe Blewett's false, puts the link for a Becton video where Becton's flexing and stuff. And
he's yoked and really slim for 360 pounds. So he's
in good shape. Now you could say maybe he I don't know, maybe he wasn't studying film in the off season or whatever. And I don't know, got lazy or whatever, or maybe he's just not adapting well to the scheme, which doesn't really make sense to me or whatever. I don't know. But to say that he's not in good shape is BS.
Alex Worm, I'm not sure. So he said, what's the email for the fantasy league I want to join? Again, Joe.Blewett at Jets with an S, xfactor.com, but you have to be subscribed to the website. You might be, I don't know everybody who's subscribed, but if I don't know you are, you're gonna have to screenshot that you're subscribed, because I want to be for the subscribers only. So you can email me, but just send a picture of your subscription, and then we're good. Eagle, you're allowed to feel sorry for yourself. Like I said, it is what it is. Franklin Myers will 100% step up.
Dude, and I was so looking forward to our defensive line just destroying Darnold week 1.
Yeah.
Which still can happen, but
50 Cal said Joe just had a jinx moment. Nobody comes into our chat with any blazingly stupid hot takes. It happens, but I think that we tend to discuss their takes and then kind of lay it down a little bit, and then they don't really want to put those takes out there. But there's plenty of shows you can go out there and just throw out a bunch of stupid shit, and they're not going to respond because they don't know how to. I'm just not in a good mood, so I'm not going to mention names, but you can do that anywhere else or other places, not all of them. We need some good energy right now. You were right, Adam. We're gonna move on, right, Kyle? We're done.
Yeah.
45 minutes.
I'm sure we'll go back to it,
dude. Huff is just as good as Carl Lawson. We're good.
Yeah, and he's homegrown, so
yeah, he's better. So lesser contract, get rid of Lawson. Huff steps up. Curry's a good edge rusher. JFM develops into an elite edge rusher. He loses some weight, and we cut Lawson. We dedicate that money to a cornerback. We're a better team without him.
And Huff doesn't watch anime, so yeah.
By the way, I think I'm gonna post on Twitter one of the most sarcastic play breakdowns I've ever had of Denzel Mims with the yak.
That was funny. Yeah, post that. Post
Yeah,
that.
I'm gonna put that up.
That was funny.
Okay, so we're gonna do this quickly. The other topics because we have the 53-man roster still predict ranking the position groups. We have to do a lot of shit. We're moving lightning speed. Kyle, ready? So we always say we are, and then we don't do it.
Yeah.
Preseason game, second watch, quick takeaways on what you learned. Again, if you want to see the whole breakdown at one, we did a whole 4-hour show after it, which was very entertaining. And then I did a whole show on it, breaking down 2.5 hours of the game tapes. So if you want us to go too in depth and you don't, they didn't go that in depth, there's 6.5 hours of discussion of it. So that's what we're breezing through pretty quickly.
Yeah. And Blewett put out 2.5 hours of film content. So off the top of my head, one thing that stood out was that 3rd and 14 play with Wilson. It looked much better watching it in slow motion with your replay, because
which one's sorry, which
it was 3rd and 14 and Wilson didn't convert the first down, but he came like a yard short.
The one to Croft,
the pass to Croft.
Yeah,
dude. And I don't remember who the right tackle was. Was it Moses? I can't be sure. But the defensive end was really breathing down Wilson's neck, and he stepped up in the pocket and he looked super calm. Like that almost reminded me of the level of comfort in the pocket that Tom Brady has. I'm just that particular play. I'm not saying as a whole.
You're getting some comments after the stream on that one. You like to see guys who aren't going to cower down to the pressure, because in the NFL you have to be able to step up, deliver a strike with a shot coming to your face, and he did that. And overall, the game he looked really, really good. And 3 of the incompletions, it's not like he was brutally inaccurate. Like the one. Corey Davis in the end zone, was Crowder supposed to pick him? Was he not supposed to? It's a question mark, because Crowder's usually pretty good at that, but he was completely off. Maybe he just rushed it. I don't know. The dump off to Croft, where he might have been a little bit high on the ball, but Croft tripped. And then the other one was what was the other incompletion was
the one to Corey Davis in the red zone?
No, that's what I'm saying. Corey Davis in the red zone, Kyler Croft when he tripped. And then another one was I forget.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
And one of the first downs he had, one of the 3rd down completions to Crowder, was taken away by a penalty. So like he played really, really well. I think other than that on offense, quickly, I think Ty Johnson was okay. I think the running backs overall disappointed a little bit. I think the offensive line run blocking was pretty good, but P. Ryan, like people talk about, had a really good game. It was pretty, like he had one good run on that power toss. Mm-hmm. And then like the inside zone play on the goal line, like how good is that really?
That was all fun. Offensive line made that
play. They prayed like 2 yards a push on like a 4-yard run.
Yeah.
And Michael Carter was okay. Backups. And then past that, like the starting receiver was good. Not Alex Lewis. Dan Feeney looked like shit, which is a concern. I think Moses' game was a little bit overrated, to be honest. He had a couple bad pass blocks where he had a lot of pressure in my mind. And then he had a run block, which wasn't that good. So I was a little bit disappointed with Moses.
Yeah. And let's go the PFF stat, Moses gave up no pressures or whatever. It's like,
no, he wasn't that. And like one of the plays that we saw what he did with the Washington football team was he gets too high on guys, like to their shoulders, instead of attacking the center of gravity I always talk about on a down block, and he didn't move a guy. So he's okay, but he didn't play as good as some people think he did. Moving to the defensive side, just to mention some guys.
Part of me wonders with him. This is what I was thinking when I was watching your replay.
Yeah.
So if you watch Joe Blewett's Morgan Moses review, you're going to notice that because I think you generally start with like their earlier games earlier in the season. So he was getting beat up like really early in the season. And then he kind of got better as the year went on. And I wonder with a guy like him, and he's a big dude, is this someone who kind of doesn't take the off season that seriously and gets out of shape and gets better as they get in better shape as the season goes on? And I'm just saying that because he hasn't really looked that good this camp. He didn't really look that good in this game. And just judging based on his early games in your film review from those respective 2 seasons that you did, he looked worse earlier on in those seasons.
I just don't know how he looked with 2019 versus the end of 2019, but I don't know. The Wicked 50 cal Zuniga is way better than Lawson. He's way cheaper, not a loss at all. Obviously being sarcastic. Moving on, Marshall is their new Snacks. Marshall and Snacks are very, very different players, but he could be our new Ed Oliver, or the 6th round cheaper Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
ESPN saying,
don't tell that to my brother.
Everson Griffin is the best free agent edge rusher available. Is he any good?
He's old.
Yeah, he's old, but if you want to bring in another guy like him or Cam Wake, like I would understand it, just to let some more rotation happen. I would get
Cam
it.
Wake is he still want to play? Cam Wake's getting close to 40 years old now.
Yeah, but if he's healthy when he's in. Sorry, somebody else mentioned sorry, I'm trying to find it. Something about Alex Worm just sent the email. So if he's in, now we only have 3 spots left in the fantasy. So you better get in the fantasy by the end of tonight. So I'm just taking the emails as they come. But,
and by the way, if you're
Alex
one of those people that really wants to get in it and you're not a member of the site, then now's a good time to sign up.
Alex, again, just make sure, because it's going to fill up, I'm assuming by the end of the stream, just make sure you send me a screenshot of like your subscription, like however you can find that. Just make sure you do that, because I only want it to be subscribers.
Hey, Franz, that's some good info I didn't know about Moses having a gym built in his house. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that. Does he use the gym? Dude, there are plenty of people who have home gyms and workout.
I have one right behind me. It doesn't mean I'd have to do it. Well, it's as good of a gym as I can have. I'm making millions of dollars.
The dumbbells only go up to 52.5, which is just perfect for Joe Blewett.
All right. Kyle, come on. That's such a
huge shot. You said we're gonna be jerks to each other.
I told you. I specifically said, yeah, you can't do a lot of things with it, but it works if you need something to do real quick, Unless you're doing flies with 50s,
Dude, honestly, when the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone was buying home workout equipment because they shut down all the gyms, I was trying to get me a set of those, and they were all sold out, so I couldn't.
So Verge is asking, what exactly is the pick'ems? What are we picking teams to win each week? So Verge, at the end of all the film breakdowns, I just put out like 5 or 6 games, or even maybe a little bit more that I think are the best games of the week. We pick them. We track the stats throughout the year, and then whoever comes in first, I'll give them like a t-shirt or 2 or a subscription or whatever. But it's a lot for shit talk, and then some free stuff from the site. So if you want to, let me know, because you're definitely a big supporter. We could see Tristan Hodge at left guard. To be honest, I haven't seen much from him. I haven't heard much from him. From what I see at BYU, I wasn't overly impressed. I don't think he's a good fit. So I think the Hodge hype, because of whatever reason, is a little bit overhyped. Okay, somebody asked about Vic Biza. I don't know. But continuing, preseason, anything else? Oh yeah. So
I've never seen anything from Vic Beasley in his career to make me want to sign him. I mean, I think some people are forgetting about Vinny Curry. We have him on this roster, and I think that was a pretty good signing, to be honest. But I mean,
Mike, I'm checking right now.
I'm glad that we have Curry. I really am. But there's really no downplaying how big of a loss this is. Yeah.
Mike, where the hell are you sending me these emails? Important drafts. Try to email me at Blewett, BLEW.
Joe, just make sure you're checking your junk and spam folder.
Blewett, BLEWETT, Joe at yahoo.com. Send it to that email. I don't know why I'm not getting your emails, Mike. Okay, so other than that, Tanzel Smart, really good game for, I think, a guy who probably could have played himself in the practice squad. Michael Dumford got injured, but it's still a good game. Obviously, you had Huff and all those guys. Sherwood and Hamza both had good games. The corners, Eccles had a pretty decent game, but other than that, do we really need to talk about anything else? I want to just move on to.
Yeah, we talked about, I mean, obviously, yeah, we talked about that so much. We had a long stream about it, and then you did your big film breakdown, which people can watch and get your more detailed thoughts about it there. So yeah, we should move on.
Yeah. Okay. The next preseason game, I think it's more the same, Kyle, in terms of like what we want to see. It's all the young guys play well. Everybody play well. No injuries. Like it's all the same generic shit. We'll discuss as it comes. Did you see the Becton thing today? People are overreacting to that a little bit. LaFleur is saying he isn't playing at his best and he has some things to work through. And then like Becton's mom like commented and was saying that he's working through some things right now or something like that. And like
I didn't know about the thing with Becton's mom. That's news to me. That's interesting. Working through some things. Like, what does that mean? Like personal things, I assume, because he seems to be in pretty good shape. He's showing up to the facility every day. Yeah. I mean, if he's got something really big and personal going on in his life, that can be a distraction. And dude, like when you step onto a football field, you need to be laser-like focused, because if you're distracted about this thing and that thing, you're playing against guys who are not only elite athletes, but, they are, especially like even lower level guys and things like that. They're trying to get millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the way to do that is to beat you and make you look silly. So if Becton's not ultra laser like focused and he's got other things on his mind, he can get beaten by a lower level guy. And it's, it seems like it's not just Lawson who's beating him. He's also gotten beaten by other guys too. So, I mean, it'd be total speculation to know what he's going through, but it seems like it's something personal, I guess.
Yeah. That same guy, he's pretty close to getting blocked. I think he's just a troll, but he says Curry is old and washed up and damaged goods. You didn't watch the review. You don't know what you're talking about. It just is what it is. This guy is just, I guess, like a Jets troll negative. He's just, everybody's bad. But if you watch the Curry review and you think he's damaged goods and not good for his role he's going to be in, you're just foolish. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry. That just is what it is.
Curry's good value for what they signed him at, but there's a reason why Carl Lawson got the contract he got, and there's a reason why Vinny Curry
for a couple $1 million he got based on his snaps to pressure rate. He's actually really solid. So
yeah.
Moving on, Valid Walker, Joe, greetings from Red Bank. All right, it's like right down. That's like that's like a town away from me. So I guess you live there. So what's up? Orpheus, you know what I hate? And this is what he says. I have been a Jets fan since before you were born. That's like every old person's like automatic win is like, I've been a Jets fan for longer than you, so I automatically win. Like, oh, the Jets are going to suck this year, or this player sucks. I've been a Jets fan for longer. I know more than you. Okay.
So Orpheus, tell me one thing about the way Vinny Curry plays. What's he good at?
He primarily win with, and why does he lose? And tell me about, his physical makeup. Go ahead in the chat before you can Google a scouting report. I'll give you a minute.
If you're gonna brag about how long you've been a fan and stuff,
you should probably know better.
You should. That should mean that you know a lot. Yeah. But I don't think that's the case.
I don't allow that shit in the chat. Just a bunch of stupid comments over and over again. It just is what it is. At that point, I don't care to lose one subscriber. I couldn't care any less. So, the Becton thing, yeah, it's. Again, people are shitting on him now, like, oh, he's injured and all this stuff. And yeah, he's getting beat by Carl Lawson. It's a little bit, it's there's some level of concern there, maybe like 2%. But one, we didn't see him in training camp last year, so you don't know how he reacts to training camp. He played well last year. And Kyle, I can't speak for you, but when I watched him against the Giants, he played pretty damn well. So, maybe he's getting beat up a little bit in practice, but to say he's like out of shape and bad, it's like you're crazy. Like, He is the most slim 360, 370 you could possibly be. Like when he showed up to training camp and was posting those workout videos. So,
yeah, I agree with that. And, he definitely needs, we already knew that he needed to work on his pass protection. All right. The majority of his really good plays last year came in the run game. Now and pass protection, it takes a little bit more to work at that. So just give him time, and hopefully he'll get into season form as it goes on and stuff. But it's a little concerning to say the least, after having a pretty good year, he should have a big jump from year 1 to year 2, and he hasn't made that jump yet, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not that concerned. No, I think that he's
no. Shadow is sending a request for fantasy football too. I think it's like 14. We're playing with 16 people. You're gonna need to know some depth of some other NFL teams. John Hassel, appreciate you. I've been a Jets fan for as long as Orpheus and Joe taught me things my high school coaches didn't. Just my 2 cents. Thank you. Training camp. We'll move through some of this stuff really quickly. One of the big things, Kyle, like we had pretty solid, like not solid interior offensive line depth, but enough where you were comfortable with it as compared to years in the past. Alex Lewis retires, I don't know what's going on with him mentally, but obviously there's something. So I hope he gets better, but obviously it hurts the team as well. Cam Clark goes down. And then they bring in David Moore. So what are your thoughts on kind of those three transactions? Obviously Lewis retiring, Moore coming in, Clark being on the IR. So now our interior line depth is what, Moore and who? And by the way, on our 53-man roster projection, I counted Clark just because I don't know when he's coming back. I hate doing the whole injury thing. I just did like everybody's healthy type deal, minus people who are going to be out for the year. But what are your thoughts with the interior line depth now? Because Lewis leaving is like, again, not a good starter, solid backup to have.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder if they're going to try to get someone else on waivers or something like that. Yeah, the depth's a little bit concerning because injury. And listen, AVT, he's still not even healthy yet too. So, offensive linemen always get hurt. Offensive lines are constantly shuffling around. So it's definitely a concern. And we were hoping to see Cam Clark eventually go into a starter role this year, and it doesn't seem likely that that's going to happen now. Although maybe, I guess, I mean, it could be one of these IR designated to return after like 10 weeks of the season type deals. But even if he's missing all that time and he missed all of training camp, how's he going to, he hasn't had that practice time. He's still learning a new position. It's hard to see him eventually, getting into a role where you'd be comfortable with him coming into a game at all. Because offensive line, pretty much more so than any other position, it takes so much gelling with the other offensive linemen around you. Okay, we're going to stay on this combo block until you climb. I mean, a lot of that just takes timing and practice, and it's not something that you can just kind of step into after not doing it for such a long time and just kind of be good at it. It really, there's a reason why they practice, and offensive linemen really need it. So the depth is a concern at this point. And, I'll say this right now. I know we're not doing our 53 man roster predictions just right now, but when I initially wrote it, I didn't have David Moore on there. And now with the Lewis news and, the Lawson news, I'm probably going to have to put him on there, but even with him, okay, we know nothing about this guy yet. So, he's a guy who got cut by the Panthers, and the Panthers, we know that they have a crappy offensive line, so if they're cutting him, what does that say about how good he is? I don't know. So, I look for the Jets to potentially make a move at waivers to bring in some other guy. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting kind of like case. Like maybe he wasn't working hard. Maybe the talent's there, like maybe it's we'll talk about Denzel Mims in a little bit, but maybe it's a situation which I think we've gotten at least a little bit more maybe into that situation with Mims. Like maybe he wasn't trying as hard as maybe necessarily the coaches wanted to. There's some quote I have later in this. Moving on. Actually, we can talk about Mims right now, but he was mentioned in a press conference that I think it was Corey Davis was saying, I think it was something to the effect of mentally is where Mims like has to work at right now. I forget exactly what the quote was, but he mentioned that that's the area he needs to take a step up in. Like he started talking about like how some days he doesn't want to be at training camp, but it's his job, so he has to do it. And then he kind of went on to either answering a question about Mims or kind of redirecting to Mims and saying like he has all the physical talent in the world, but he has to take that mental leap. So if I had to guess one thing of what it's been with Mims is at first he showed up, I guess, not overly motivated, maybe a little bit down by some of the guys they brought in, not happy with the fit in his offense, whatever it may be. And eventually, and now it seems he's working harder. He went to the coaches, requested to be on special teams, balled out last game. And now maybe he's climbing a little bit, but if I had to guess, it seems like with everything kind of just coming into one, like if I had like an educated guess, I think that it's because work ethic, something he said in a meeting, there was something lacking from mental with Mims. There wasn't necessarily his talent.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know any of that information. Yeah, it's interesting how people respond to things. I mean, like, I think if I'm not mistaken, when I watched this last episode of One Jets Drive, they kept talking about the word adversity a lot, whether it was Elijah Moore, Corey Davis kept talking about adversity all the time, with his brother passing and a bunch of other things that had happened in his life and stuff. Adversity. And, like it's an interesting word. And it's like, some people respond to things like when something bad happens in their life, they can take it as an opportunity to get down or get depressed. Mm-hmm. Other people use it as motivation. Like, take Elijah Moore, for example. He obviously lost millions of dollars by not being a first round pick. All right. Lost millions of dollars. Now you can get sad and depressed about that, or you can be like Elijah Moore and say, you know what? I'm going to write all these names down of these guys that were picked before me. And that's going to make me ball out even harder. And I guess it seems, like when you watch Denzel in that episode of One Jets Drive, he kind of seems kind of like nonchalant and laid back. And one of these guys who's really talented. And we've all played with guys like this on our football team who are kind of like, they're way more talented than some other guys on the team, but they just kind of don't have that work ethic. And sometimes the coaches really do have to give them a literal kick in the ass. And I don't know, maybe he is that type of guy. I don't claim to know a lot about players' personal backgrounds and stuff, but I can say that Mims is a dog on the field when the actual lights are on. Like he really does play like that. So, maybe he kind of realized after talking with Corey and seeing Elijah's positive attitude that, okay, I know I'm talented and these guys are telling me I'm talented. I got to step it up now. And maybe that's why he requested to play on special teams during the game. And I'll tell you this right now, I know it's very different high school from like the pros or whatever, but coaches love when players volunteer to do X, Y, and Z.
Extra work. Yeah.
Like I was a converted wide receiver to a lineman and a converted safety to a defensive lineman. And I was in the weight room every day and I was telling the coaches, I want to play this. I want to play
with more than 52s and a halves.
Like just get me on the field. Just get me on the field. And, I needed to learn a lot of technique and I wasn't the biggest. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest, but coaches like saw that I had a willingness to want to play and they loved that. And, the coaches selected me to be the captain for my team, my senior year and stuff. So like, good for Mims going to the coaches and saying, hey, listen, put me on special teams. Cause that's showing a willingness that he probably realized, man, I fucked up by having this kind of nonchalant, lackluster. And he probably realized why he was on third string. They probably, again, this is speculation. I don't know this 100% sure, but logically, it makes no sense that he was with third stringers. He's way more talented than that. Clearly.
Yeah.
The only reason that he would be there, third string, that is if the coaches are trying to send him a message.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which him going to the coaches and saying, hey, I want to be on special teams, maybe kind of indicates that he was trying to step up because that was maybe a question. But again, I brought this up in the podcast, breaking down the film of the game, but to say that he's not a fit in the offense is one bullshit because every offense needs a vertical guy who can win deep balls, a red zone guy. So that's one. Two, tell me why Corey Davis is such a different physical specimen than him. If anything, Mims is more physically gifted than Davis. And people people act like all progression is linear. And Corey Davis was a guy who came as a top 5 pick, was a bust. Everybody in Tennessee was probably disappointed with him. The Jets signed him and now everybody loves him, which rightly so. But if Corey Davis was so bad to Tennessee Titans fans, why are we so ecstatic now? So to act like Mims, who's coming off of a shortened season last year with Adam Gase, new offense, no preseason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about it all. To act like he can't grow is bullshit. And with that, he ran only like 5 routes at Baylor. So yeah, he's had to learn a route tree, to learn how to run routes. He had to learn how to win quicker. He learned nuances, but to say, "Oh, get rid of him," the guy's a bust. Like you're there's no way. So he's a fit. He's a yak guy. He's a blocker, which is really important in this system. So
really good blocker.
Yeah, really good. The best blocker. Number one. And I think Davis is good, but I think Mims is more physical. I think he's stronger than Davis on a one-on-one block. So maybe Davis is cleaner technically, but Mims has the highest ceiling as a blocker. He's better than Cole. He's better than Crowder. He's better than all those guys as a blocker. So moving on, though, Shadow, I just answered you. Mike, I did too. Waiting on you, Verge. Again, send an email or whatever. But we're pretty much filled up right now. So I think we might have a spot or two left on each. So make sure you do that. Moving on from that. Eccles has been pressing in camp. That's something that's been discussed a while back. So it is what it is. I had a note from Lawson here, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. And then Mims, I kind of noted in here too. Mims linear doesn't fit ? Quick versus route running versus new system versus rookie year. I kind of mentioned all that. Did you see the only other big thing from camp that I've noticed is that Austin said he's going to be one of the league's best cornerbacks at the end of this year, and he also likes pineapple on pizza. So that just pretty much cements him as my least favorite player of the Jets ever.
He was already cemented as your least favorite. That puts the engraving on the cement. So. Yeah, it does. So, Kyle, something else I want to do. Yeah, I said talk about delusional. I mean, like on the one hand, like if he is that confident, okay, that's great. But sometimes confidence can also correlate with being delusional.
So do you want to, we have two more topics to hit on before we get to the 53-man roster prediction. Do you want to rank the position groups against each other right now? Or do you want to compare the past Jets versus the current Jets?
You talk about the 2015 roster?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that right now.
Okay, so this is a conversation, and this is basically just kind of stemmed from a conversation that Kyle and I had a couple of weeks ago, where we were saying that people are really negative on the Jets, and there's people who are saying the Jets are going to win, 4 or 5 games. They might be the 3rd overall pick, the 4th overall pick, and all this stuff. And obviously, it took a big hit today. But then we had a discussion about why are the 2015 Jets, who went 10-6, who almost made the playoffs minus week 17. They could have made the playoffs regardless. Like a bunch of other years, 10-6 is good enough for a wild card spot. Unfortunately, that year it wasn't. So why is that team so much better than this team? So we want to kind of compare the rosters and to see which positions we would take over the other and see if they're that far off. Because if they're a better team or close to what they were in 2015, obviously there's other circumstances, who played who and luck and injuries. There's a bunch of other stuff. But I kind of wanted to just see where they stack up, because if that team can win 10 games, why can't this team win 7 or 8, And we also talked about the 2017 Jets. I think we went through that roster as well in the past. So we'll go through 2015 right now. Just quickly, nothing crazy. I'm going to go through the whole roster. Quarterback, are you taking Ryan Fitzpatrick that year? Or are you taking Zach Wilson?
This is tough. I don't think this one's easy, because obviously from a talent perspective, there's no comparison. But from the mental perspective, and I think Fitz's mental acumen is probably a little bit overrated, because I think he sees things pretty well, but I think he's also kind of delusional about what his ability is, his throwing ability. Like he does kind of have that gunslinger mentality, but he doesn't have the gunslinger arm talent. That's tough. That was one of the best years of his career, his entire career. You could argue that he had a better year last year with the Dolphins, but it was still very, 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 I would see even below average in terms of a league starter, slightly below average that year, maybe, or right about average, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to go with Wilson.
I have the guy, by the way, just quickly, I have the guy, Alex, who wanted to join the thing. Fantasy? And he just signed up for a month subscription free. I'll take it. Hopefully you join after that, but it is what it is. He just really wants to get in the league, but hey, what? Maybe you stay in.
Hey, now that you got the free month, go through as much content as you want. And if you like it, then maybe you'll stay.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people just being, fans, like not current fans, but being kind of biased towards what Zach is. In his rookie year, he be better than what Fitz was in that year, was probably the best year of his career, throwing 31 touchdowns. I think it's closer than people realize. But I do think Fitz that year, and that was a problem I had. I remember the 2015 offseason going into 2016. I was saying that a lot of people want to resign this guy, and how many balls did he just chuck up, and Brandon Marshall just mossed the guys. Like, it happened all the time. So I would take Wilson as well over Fitz in that year, because I think Fitz is still a below average quarterback. I think Wilson could be average to below average in his rookie year, which isn't saying much, but it still kind of is. I'm taking Wilson, but by a very slight margin. I think it's almost a wash, to be completely honest. That's
my thinking as well.
Yeah.
And obviously anyone who's watching this, don't think that we're talking about going forward. There's obviously no comparison, but we're talking about just for this year. And so I said it on our last, not our last stream after the post game, but 2 weeks ago from the exact day. I said, like, if Justin Herbert did what he did in that situation in LA and had the year that he had, I see no reason why Wilson couldn't potentially have the same type of production. And I'm talking about just based on how talented he is and stuff and who he's got around him. And if he does have a year like that, then that's obviously better than what we had with Fitz. So we'll see. But that one's close. We'll say. We'll leave it at that.
Moving on to the running backs. Chris Ivory, Bilal Powell, Stephen Ridley, Zach Stacy, Tommy Bohannon.
Wow, I thought they had Stephen Ridley.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm going 2015.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I like Chris Ivory. He's better than any player we have right now on the running back stable. I know Carter, but going forward, maybe.
And Bilal was relatively young at that point too.
Bilal was still really effective. I would say that Bilal versus this year's Jets in 2015, I would say Powell is probably the best running back of all those guys. And again, I like Carter, but you're figuring Bilal Powell like in his prime ish, and Chris Ivory. I think that's it's not like they blow him out of the water, but I think it's a relatively easy win for Ivory and Powell over what we have at running back right now. The tight ends, man, we have never had good tight ends. Jeff Cumberland, Kellen Davis, and Wes Saxton.
I'll go with now.
I'm going now just because of Croft and like the potential of Herndon, and I guess having Westco as a fullback. But Jeff Cumberland, Kellen Davis, and Saxton, yikes.
Kellen Davis, that dude had some stone hands.
Yeah. No, was that the same year that he had that drop on Thursday Night Football against the Bills, and we got swept versus the Bills that year? If he just caught that ball in the end zone, we would have won that game in the playoffs. Was that the everybody dance, or the Jets dance party, what the hell that was called? That went viral?
No. The Jets dance thing was in that was the McCown year, I think, 2017.
Was it 2017? Wow. Yeah, it wasn't 2015 because
they had Jamal Adams and stuff. That was Adams rookie year.
Yeah, that was 2017, and they had Darren Lee too. I remember that. Yeah, okay. Receiver group. This is an interesting conversation. Eric Decker, Quincy Nunwa, Brandon Marshall. Past that, you had Devin Smith, who at the time was a second-round pick, I believe, that year, maybe the year before. Kembrell Tompkins.
Yeah,
Chris
he was a second-round
Owusu.
pick that year, but tore his ACL in training camp. Yeah.
Well, no, it said he played in 10 games, so maybe the next year he tore his ACL.
No, he tore his ACL his rookie year. I'm pretty sure.
So maybe he was drafted in 14 because it said he had 10 games right here.
Maybe it was 14. Yeah.
Okay, so who you taking, Kyle? This is an interesting
14. Discussion
because Marshall that year broke Jets records. He's better than anybody is this year, but that year he was really good. Decker is like he's a solid 1,000-yard receiver. I would say that Decker versus Corey Davis, I'll probably take Corey Davis. And then the depth
from the upside, obviously Davis has way higher
Nunwa, Curly Smith versus Elijah Moore, Crowder, Keelan Cole. I think I'm taking the Jets depth
definitely with the current Jets. I think it's
the 2015 Jets, but by a very slight margin, just because of how good Brandon Marshall was that year, like literally breaking almost all the Jets records.
Yeah. So this is tough. I mean, but when you think about, duration of the season, people staying healthy and how much teams run 11 personnel now, Jeremy Curley as your third option versus Crowder or Moore, however you want to put that. I mean, it's a big gap. I mean, Curley wasn't a bad player, but come on, there's no comparison between him and someone like Crowder. So it's tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is that Moore hasn't hit the field yet. So
let's see. Some people
I think we have to give a lot more credence to the true number one. I almost want to go with 15 Jets.
I said 15 Jets, but just by overall. a slight margin.
I'll go with 15,
because of
15 Jets. Yeah.
Because of how good Marshall was. Like that was the reason that Fitz was so successful that year, is because when he was in trouble, pressure in the pocket, fading out of the pocket, whatever it was, he just chucked up to Marshall, and Marshall was dominated guys. Like I remember being there for that. That was that Colts game week 2. I went to the Colts game because week 1 we beat the Browns. Mm-hmm. Week 2 was the Colts. I drove there with my friend Vinny.
When he was dragging those dudes,
he dragged like 3 dudes, and we were going wild. And I remember these 3 older ladies at the end of the game, like turned to me and Vinny because we're loud and whatever. We're good time at Jets games. And they turned to us like, "You guys win douchebag of the game awards." And we're like, "What the fuck?" Like, we're just cheering for our team. Like, yeah, we're loud, but like, welcome to your experience with New York Jets fans. Like, that's what we are. You don't think we're going to cheer? You're crazy.
You guys win sore losers of the game.
Yeah. I remember going to a couple of games and like, I would be at a Jets game and like, there'd be people behind me like, "Can you sit down?" I'm like, no. You think I'm going to sit down at a Jets game? Like, third down, there's not a chance I'm sitting down. First and second down, I might, but that's only because the rest of the stadium is a bunch of softies and on their cell phones. I wish that we were like Buffalo. So, sorry, but Buffalo, they stand the entire game. I want to stand the entire game, but people don't do that because they're too busy tweeting and taking videos. And
I stand at games in my house.
I'm so excited. I can't sit down. No way. So
and by the way, someone said Curley was fantastic as a Jets player. No, he was a good punt returner. I'll give him that. But as a receiver, there's no comparison between him and Crowder as a receiver.
Yeah, no.
Crowder's a much better route runner. Crowder had better hands.
Especially if you had Crowder, like, because Curley was a problem with a lot of his years was he was like the number one option, So like, yeah, he saw some targets, but he still never surpassed what Crowder was. Ed Stewart said, just wish Quincy could stay healthy. Yeah.
Crowder had with the Jets, Crowder had 900 or so yards with a horrible offense and quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, people talk about Quincy. I wish Quincy could stay healthy as well. I'm sorry if I missed anything in the chat. I apologize. Just trying to go through it as best I can, kind of. Chris Turner said most college stadiums, everyone's standing up. Listen, I love Jets fans. I love the dedication. I wish you guys were a little bit less, let's just be frank, bitches at the games. People are sitting down. People are on their phones. People are on Instagram. People are taking pictures. People are on Twitter. I got a question for you. Just stand up and root. Like, I hate when people are looking at their fucking phones.
Genuine question from someone who would actually know. There was a lot of chatter, and I don't really know because I've never really gone to a lot of games every year. But some people said that when they made the new stadium and something to do with PSLs and stuff, you kind of put the more blue collar workers out of the market, and that has something to do with it. Is that true, or is that just?
I think it was on the first level. Now they require PSLs where they never did before. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I know the third level, you don't need PSLs.
Okay.
But I can undoubtedly say that Giant Stadium prior to MetLife was a lot louder. A lot. That 2009 home opener with Rex and Sanchez when beat the Pats, the stadium was vibrating. It was so loud. And I get it. The Jets suck. And so people are going to be less prone to want to come. And when they do come, if they suck, they're not going to root as hard. I am begging fans that if the Jets are good, and I think their new era, we might have our struggles this year, but with Zach Wilson coming in, Salah coming in, I want it to be like that old stadium. The stadium experience has taken a massive downturn. Massive.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to just I don't want to hear it from people that, the only reason why they're not as excited is because the team's been bad. Dude, I went to Buffalo week 17 of the 2012 season, right? This was the Bills had won 5 games up to that point. They were 5-10, and the Jets were 6-9 at that point, right? So there was no reason to be excited for this game.
Yeah.
And the Bills hadn't made the playoffs in 12 years at that point. And those Bills fans were wild that game. Wild. Right. So don't tell me that, it's just because, the team hasn't been good. No, there are some other fan bases that bring in a lot more. And
the Chiefs, when they were terrible for a lot of years.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an excuse. It's the cell phones. The cell phones ruin a lot of it. And it's the trying to broadcast from games. Just go, drink or not, have fun and root. Like I wish we, and even the third downs have taken a down spin, but I wish we treat like that every single down. Like there are stadiums like that. But first and second down, you can hear a pin drop sometimes. It's like, what are we doing here? We're supposed to be that 12th man. And Seattle is that 12th man. They also cheat with their stadium, having metal bleachers and having it cave in so it reflects down to the field. So it's not as loud as people. It's loud, but it's because it's designed that way. Mm-hmm. But throwback Jets games were so much more wild than they are now.
Edward, no one's hating on Curly. See, this is sometimes people think that just because you're praising one person that you're automatically kind of slapping down and acting like someone else is bad. No, Crowder is just a really good slot option. He's one of the best slot receivers in the entire league. Curly, you could never say that Curly was one of the best slot receivers in the league. No one would ever say that. Curly, when Curly hit free agency, nobody was clamoring to sign him to a big deal. Jameson got a pretty big contract for a slot receiver. All right. And going back to the stadium thing, dude, when I went to the green and white practice a couple weeks ago, I was trying to find Nania because neither of us know the stadium that well. And he messaged me and said hey, I'm over here and, where are you at? So I was like, all right, I'll come out to you. And I'm trying to walk through this one area. And it's this area where I guess it's a season ticket holder only area where it's a private thing where you can get food. And I told the security lady, hey, I'm just going to walk through no, you can't walk through there and stuff. And it's I don't know. I wonder if these people who I saw in this area, for them, it was almost like it was a fancy schmancy party where let's go eat our fine dining food. And they didn't even seem like they were watching the practice.
That's like the business. That's like the business stuff. Probably there's like a business meeting or something.
Yeah. So like how much, but is that like a new thing with this stadium that they didn't have that type of crowd with the old stadium? Right. Am I right about that? Okay.
Yeah. Like, and Hoof is in here. I know I think he's called in, I'm pretty sure. And he's our older, not, relative to us fan. And he's commented a lot on about like, the past and stuff like that. He said Shea was rocking. And I'm sure you could agree that, even Giants Stadium was a lot louder. So I'm just asking again, if you go, listen, if you're by yourself, freaking find seats next to go to the 300 level. Let's go wild. Like sit with Kyle, sit with me, sit with whoever. But
even though
there,
Lawson got hurt,
no
we're still bringing it. Those first
there's no phone. There's no pictures. There's no nothing. I lose my voice for days after, not 1 day, not 2 days. It's like 3 days before I get my voice back. Intros, I lose my voice. So just stop being a bunch of bitches, please. So hopefully the 112 people in here are all the people who cheer. But if you're the ones on your phone and ask people to sit down because you can't see on third down, shame on you. That's all I will say. You're the people who ruin the fan experience to me. And I've had season tickets for 7-8 years. And this year I'm not going to get them because of the work and stuff like that. But moving on.
Sorry, we're going to bring it those first two games.
If you are those people and you're offended, then be offended because I don't care. You ruin it. Offensive line. You had the starting offensive line it's kind of like listed in a weird way here, but Nick Mangold, center, DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Breno Giacomini at right tackle, Dakota Dozier, James Carpenter at left guard, Willie Clone at right guard. This offensive line blows that offensive line out of the water. It's not even close.
You're talking about a current one, blows that one out of the
water. Blows it out.
Yeah, I'll go with blowout.
Brian Winters was there too.
You think blowout? I wouldn't say blowout.
Yeah, Ferguson wasn't good in 2015. Mangold wasn't good in 2015. Like I'm talking like well below average. Like they you would
say that they weren't good. I mean, like I know that
no,
that was towards the latter part of both of their careers. But
dude,
I mean,
Breno Giacomini. And
forget him for a moment. We know he's garbage. Let's talk about Brick and Mangold, though.
Okay,
you're saying not good. I mean, not good. Like I'm not saying that they're like Pro Bowl. All pro type players by that point in their career. But I'm saying like they were both very serviceable at that point in their career.
I disagree. I think I was one of the ones on the Ferguson train, like 2015, 2016, or 2014, 2015, like his last 2 years, he was not good at all. Like Kelvin Beachum was an upgrade over Brickashaw Ferguson his last couple of years.
When did Brick retire? Has he been retired that long?
20
was 15 his last year or 16?
2016 maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. I know somebody probably knows. But yeah, I would say 2016, but he was not good. Mangold was average to below average at best his last couple of years.
His injuries really started to catch up to him.
Carpenter was never good. Willie Cologne those years was he only played 6 games, and Brian Winters, like
Carpenter was always overrated, and PFF gave him some good grades at certain points in his career.
Becton, some guy said Mangold made the Pro Bowl in 2015. I couldn't care less about the Pro Bowl, to be completely honest.
You might be underselling them a little bit, but there's no question that I would take this offensive line.
Okay, fine. Maybe I'm underselling Mangold a little bit, not Brick. I remember Brick not being good.
I remember Chandler Jones always used to give him the work.
Continuing on the defensive line, Damon Harrison, Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, Leonard Williams. Pretty good defensive line.
No edge rusher.
No edge rusher.
Finally got one this year, and damn.
So this is an interesting discussion. Would you take the Rankins, Q, Huff, JFM Jets, or the Richardson, Wilkerson, Leonard Williams Jets? It's a hard conversation because this was a
Leonard had a good rookie year.
This was a run stuffing unit where the Jets of now are still a pass rushing unit. It's almost a wash.
I'll say this. I mean, like Huff and are we counting Lawson? We're not counting Lawson, right?
No, we can't. He's not.
Yeah.
Which is, if that was the case, it's
no question. But Huff and Vinny Curry give me a lot more off the edge than whatever we had in 2015. Lorenzo Malden was our best edge rusher in 2015, right?
Yeah. I see. So other than those guys, we had Mike Caputo,
No.
Stephen Bowen, Ledger
No.
Doozable, Lorenzo Malden, Muhammad Wilkerson. So yeah, we had no pass rush like out from the edge at all. It was Richardson, Wilkerson. No, actually that year it was Wilkerson, Williams inside, and then it started to flex out Richardson to edge rusher a lot.
That is true. Which, he's a good player, but that's not where he needs to be. Alex Hunt, no, Leonard was not trash at all, and he had some down year. He never had the sacks numbers with the Jets, but he had a really good rookie year.
Yeah, he was still a solid player. He just wasn't maybe what we thought we got when we drafted him.
I would go with this unit. I'd go with this unit. For all you guys that think that I hate Quinnen, I would go with this unit. I think that
So we said Jordan Jenkins was on the team. I think he was drafted next year. Jordan Jenkins, he was on the team this year.
Listen, Quinnen can be elite this year. He can turn into an elite player. Wilkerson, Richardson, and Leonard.
We had
they
snacks.
They were all
snacks too.
Oh yeah. Well, we got Fadu Kasi's kind of like. I almost want to say that's kind of like a wash with Snacks, but probably not. But
I would say Snacks is slight. Like Snacks was number one. Like Fadu Kasi's real good though too. I would probably take Harrison if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
but that's really really close. But Richardson, Wilkerson on the inside, man, I don't.
So Quinnen, what I'm saying is Quinnen can be elite. None of those guys were ever elite with the Jets, but Quinnen has that potential, and maybe he'll get there this year.
Yeah, but like Richardson that year versus
my thing is I just see too much of the same type of player. That's why Richardson was playing out of position that year, because you had other guys in the role where he's supposed to be.
Are you taking this team's defensive line? Curry, Blair.
I'll take the current one. Yeah,
I'll take that. I'll take the 2015 one and just call it a wash. Is that fair? Because Richardson, Richardson, Wilkerson, and Leonard Williams, you're probably just based on Sheldon Rankins' health. You're probably taking all three of those guys over him. If you had to, if you can sub those 2015 players in for Rankins, I think that's fair to say, right? And then Harrison's in there as well, but none of them are Quinnen Williams. But that team has a lot more. But then you have JFM too. Yeah, let's just say it's a wash. That's a really tough discussion too. You're talking about 3-4 defensive tackles versus some guys who can penetrate better. Like it's definitely different, but I think it's pretty damn even. It really is. Linebackers who kind of played edge too.
And just if Lawson was still here, we wouldn't even be having the discussion at all.
No. Not
Did you
all.
see our boy Rusty said something about Chandler Jones now? You wouldn't even want to think about it if Lawson wasn't hurt.
No. Linebackers, Quinn Coples, Demario Davis, David Harris, Aaron Henderson, Tywan Jones.
Coples as a linebacker. He's not a linebacker at all. He just was garbage on the D-line.
Yeah, outside linebacker. Yeah. So I'll do the true stand-up linebackers then, because you can put Coples on the defensive line, doesn't really affect it that much. Okay. Even though I think was that year he had that really nice run stuff on like the end around from the Saints. Was that 2015? Dude, Demario Davis this year, I specifically remember the Jets like going to lose that Buffalo game at the very end of the game. Like they stopped him like a couple of runs, but they're still going to lose. And he was doing his whole like pray and bow thing on one leg. And if I could reach him with a rock, I probably would have thrown it and started like Malice at the Palace Part 2 in Buffalo. But I was infuriated with Demario Davis at that time.
I think it's him actually mimicking what Jesus looked like on the cross, because he's a big Christian.
Whatever it was, he was doing it when we were losing the game and we just lost going to the playoffs. And I was furious. But Demario Davis, David Harris, Aaron Henderson, Tywan Jones, Jamari Lattimore. You had Calvin Pace and Riley who are on the defensive line more. But I'm taking this year's Jets just because
Demario was not that player that he is now back then.
David Harris was old and slow, let's be honest, at 31 years old. Aaron Henderson he started 0 games. He's a backup type player. So
I'll take this one. Yeah.
This year, based on youth, Hamza and Mosley, what I'm expecting him to be is it blows these guys out of the water as well. Defensive back,
by the way, Sherwood kind of shut us up a little bit. I mean, we were shitting on him a lot. Now I kept thinking like, okay, Sherwood is going against some guys who are going to be selling insurance at the end of the year. Like he was going against a bunch of backup dudes for the Giants on their offensive line. And he can look decently athletic against those guys, but when he's going against the better athletes, because, no one really questioned Sherwood's tenacity and his willingness to want to play ball. But anyway, he did pleasantly surprise. I'll say that, even given the competition he was going against.
Yeah, he had a good zone drop. It looked like it was a spot drop and a 3. I think it was like a 3 robber that he had a good nice pass deflection on. And I would say in general, he did a good job playing with length, extension, and stacking guys and shedding blocks in the run game. So he played well. And I'm not trying to be a contrarian. I'm just trying to speak honestly. He didn't necessarily show me the things I was concerned about in college. Like he didn't disprove me in terms of like athleticism or any of that stuff. Like a spot drop's pretty generic. He was always pretty good at stacking, using his long arms and shedding. So he was decent, but it was nothing like, oh wow, he didn't do that in college.
Yeah. I hear
now he is getting rave reviews from the coaching staff, from I think specifically Jeff Olbrich, in terms of how far along he is mentally, which is it's good, because you saw in college. It's just a question of how much was he really doing, like how much he really know about the system, how much did he call? We don't really know. The fact that they're praising it kind of confirms it, so that's really good. Moving on, defensive backs.
For a coaching staff, you want a guy out there who really knows what he's doing and can communicate well. Just think about when we had that one safety, Rontez Miles, man, that dude just never knew where to be. He was always a liability in coverage, always busting coverage. Anyway.
So now we're going to the safeties. We had Jaquan Jarrett, Marcus Gilchrist, Calvin Pryor, and Rontez Miles this year easily, just because of Marcus May.
Yeah.
And I would say that Joyner's probably better than all those guys too.
Yeah.
So this year,
I remember PFF giving both those safeties good grades, but
I don't know, whatever.
I mean, dude, Calvin Pryor, even though he was a first round pick, he was off the team in a couple of years, and Gilchrist was so horrible the very next year too. And like May's a legit good safety. So, and Joyner, Joyner's a player. I think that's one of the more overrated signings for sure. But yeah, he's better than both those other guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So now the corners, we have Cromartie, Dexter McDougal, Darrell Revis, Darren Walls, Marcus Williams, and it says Darryl Screen here, but it's Buster Screen or whatever. I don't know why it says Darryl Screen, but I'm thinking 2015, obviously.
Yeah.
Revis really played well, are really bad at the end of the year, but overall, he still would be the second best corner on this team. I would argue that Hall could be better than Revis. And listen, 2015 Revis is a lot different than 2010 Revis. Just hear me out. Cromartie was okay. So I'm still taking that team. It's not a blowout, but like going through the roster, like we had the offensive line clearly above. We had the defensive line about even. We had the safeties a lot better. We had the linebackers a lot better. We had the receivers almost about even, but giving the nod to 2015 because of Marshall. We had the quarterbacks about even with Zach Wilson. So you're looking at this team that went 10-6, and now people are talking about this Jets team, and both teams had an easy schedule. The schedule we had this year is relatively easy. Obviously, we don't know. We have to see what happens, but on paper right now, it's relatively easy. So why can this team go 10-6, and now our team this year can't go 8-9, 9-7? Why? So. That was the main reason of doing this exercise for the people who are saying, oh, there's going to be 5 wins. Okay, well, then how was that team? We got wow, hold on.
That is a big super chat.
Yeah, let's say that's our biggest super chat ever. So Rob Broadhead, major props to you, who is also in our fantasy league. He's in our fantasy league, and I believe Rob. I don't know if Rob's in the fantasy league. I know he's at least in the pick'ems, but Rob, I think you want to do the fantasy league. You said it's your first time for everything. It's your first time. So $50, awesome. Love your stuff, guys. Get a few beers on me. That is fantastic, Rob. So really,
that's not US dollars though. It's
he's from Europe. I forget exactly where. Sorry, Rob, but I know he's from I think the UK. I could be wrong. Rob, let me know.
That is very generous. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yeah. Rob's been a big supporter. He was in the pick'ems last year and was iffy. He's going to bounce back this year, and then it's his first year doing fantasy. He needs to do it with us this year, which, by the way, that fantasy update, we have 3 spots left in fantasy, 3 spots left in the pick'ems. If I didn't email you back, then you didn't email me or I didn't get it. So just make sure to keep up with me, because we only have 3 spots left in each. England. Yeah. Okay. So the UK. Awesome. Rob, really appreciate you. If you ever come to a game, Rob, at MetLife Stadium, let me know, and I will treat you to one of the best tailgates you've ever had. That's what I will say. Who said it's 50 cents? It's not 50 cents. Come on. Now you guys go to that London game. Rob has to send me a bigger super chat than that to get me to the London game. I'll definitely. I'm going to every single stadium. By the time I die, I will be going. It's Wembley, right? I will be going to Wembley for a game. I guarantee it. By the time I'm dead, will happen. But yeah, Kyle, with that, does that kind of like it's it's just like a silly little exercise to do while we're bringing up topics before the season. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about. We have a 3-4 hour stream to fill. So does that kind of make you feel like relatively still excited about this team? I
mean, without doing it, I already knew that we were going to go with this team a lot, and I knew that. Listen, I mean, we said 9-8 for a reason a couple of streams ago. So, we're very high on Wilson. We're seemingly high on the coaching staff. They still need to prove themselves, but it's the Lawson injury really, really, really sucks. But even with that,
Kyle, moving past.
If Saleh is really the legit coach that we're hoping he can be, and Wilson really pans out and he just kind of like really becomes the next superstar of a quarterback, this team could make a playoff push this year.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I agree. Like I said, if that team can go 10 wins, you can't tell me this team can't go 9 or 10. It's obviously less likely now that Lawson's out, but to say they're going to get 5-6 wins, there's no way they're going to get more. I think you're crazy. It's anything can happen. I still expect them. Maybe I expected them to be in that 7 to 9 range. Now it's in my expectations probably moved down a game. Now I'm probably more in that 6 to 8 range. But I would say not even 6. I'm going to say 7 to 8 range. I decreased it by 1. I'm less likely than 9, but I still think they're going to win 7-8 games. That's what I would say. 6 is still kind of low for me. I would not be very happy. Hoofbacks. I'm calling you Ronnie. So maybe it's not Hoof who is the older guy. I just know him calling you Ronnie. I forgot about that.
As soon as I saw Hoof, I knew.
I forgot about the Ronnie thing. I did. He wasn't in here last chat. I don't think he was in here for the extravaganza we had till 3 a.m. So, appreciate that again. Moving on, we have one more topic before we get into the 53-man roster prediction, which will be fun. Kyle, we're just going to, and this is with the Lawson thing, kind of flexed into it. I just want to look at I want to rank our position groups on the team, like 1 through, I put 10, I put defensive tackle, defensive end at 2 different positions. I want to rank them 1 to 10. And then I want to rank them based on versus each other. I want to rate them from a 1 to 10. And I also want to get your general opinion on where they stand in the league. Like, are they, top 5 unit, a top, 10 unit, top 15 unit, a bottom 5 unit, kind of like just a general type of feel,
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I believe so. And we were supposed to do this a couple weeks ago, and I wrote down some notes for this. So, okay. Go.
Do you want to start from 10 to 1? What's the worst position on this group? Where do you feel it stands on a ranking from 1 to 10?
Cornerbacks.
I disagree.
Okay. Well, what do you say?
Tight ends. At least with the corners for me, you have Bryce Hall, who's been playing pretty well apparently, who played pretty well for a rookie last year, considering again no preseason, no training camp, all that stuff. You have a bunch of young guys. You have Guidry, who came in and played decently, so you have some potential there. Where tight end, listen, like you don't really have much at all. Like they didn't play well during the Giants game. You have Wesco, who's more of a fullback than a tight end at this point. You have Herndon, who's probably not going to be on the team next year. You have Croft, who I like, but I would say Croft versus Hall. Hall gets that win easily. So I'm gonna go that tight end's actually the worst position on this team. Versus, and I didn't even mention Yeboah, so he's not gonna make the team.
But you're mentioning one person though, Bryce Hall. Okay,
who's that one person at tight end?
Okay, but Croft. But cornerbacks, listen, Joe, you're gonna have that probably at least 3 on the field most times. Okay. Versus, and theoretically, you only really have to have 1 tight end in at most times. So, what's a bigger liability, tight end or cornerbacks?
Well, it's okay. So now you're changing the direction of the conversation.
No, I'm not, because you're talking about the worst position group. You're talking about the worst position group. I don't need to have 3 good or decent tight ends, but I need to have multiple good cornerbacks.
So we're talking about impact too.
Because you need more cornerbacks, though, and the Jets have a bunch of holes at cornerback.
I get your point because you can hide the tight ends a little bit more. Like you can hide the tight ends, but in terms of like the upside and the depth of the position, regardless of how many have to be on the field, I'm still more comfortable with the direction and what we have at cornerback moving forward than I am with tight end. Like, yeah, you can hide it better, but I'm not talking about game planning and who you can see on the field more, because then we can also say, oh, well, you can only have 2 corners on the field if you hide it well enough with linebackers and safeties or whatever. So then you're talking about, Bryce Hall and Eccles versus Tyler Croft and Herndon. Like, it's not like I think the corners are so much better than the tight ends, but I just feel more optimistic going forward that they have somebody to hold down the fort, or not to hold down the fort, but to be a cog in the machine moving forward than I do with tight end. Where tight end, I think we have to completely address the entire position. I don't think we have really anybody minus, again, Wesco, who I think is more of a fullback at this point. So
that's fair. Going forward, I see where you're coming from. So you'll have them there and I'll have them there. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. And then obviously we both have, I'm sure your number 9 is tight ends and mine's corners.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it's, I don't think it's a massive gap, but I think it's, whatever. Oh, so with the tight ends, rating it from 1 to 10, it's a 1 out of a 10.
Hold on. Let me see.
1.5
for tight ends. You want to know what number I gave?
Yeah. Like 1 out of 10,
I put it as a 3.
A 3
for tight ends. 1 out of 10?
1.5.
1.5.
Maybe 2. I'll say 2. I'll say 2.
Dude, you act like they're starting what was the guy who we were just talking about before from the 2015 team? They dropped the ball in the end zone. Davis. Yeah, you're acting like Kellen Davis is the only tight end.
I'm being a little bit critical because you have Herndon who might bounce back. You have Wesco who's decent, he just fills a different role.
Dude, we're talking about a 1 to 10
I'm
scale,
convinced,
bro.
I'm convinced. I'll give him a 2.5.
Okay.
Because I do like Croft. It's just the injury question too. 3. Yeah, I'll give him a 2.5. I'm not going 3. Corner, and they're a bottom 3 unit, I would say, in the NFL. They're bottom 3 tight ends. I think if we really went through it, they're probably bottom 3.
By the way, did you have edge differentiated from defensive line?
Yes, I had DN and D tackle.
I should have wrote that down.
I'm sure you could adjust on the fly pretty quickly.
I put D line as just 1. Oh, hold on.
When
I wrote this too, I wasn't even factoring in Lawson injuries.
Edward Stewart, I like this tight end group. Why? Why? Eagles asking who was Holler at Yasala. I don't know who that is. I know we got another Michael in there from the website. I don't know what Michael it is though. So we have Michael Nania versus Michael something. I don't know what his name is.
So Joe, is your edge rankings including Lawson?
No, not now. I adjusted.
Okay.
So tight end, I would say bottom 3 to 5 in the league. Corner, let's be honest, I'm going to give it a 3, I guess, just because of the youth they have there in Hall. We're trying to be honest here, and still bottom 3 in the league. It just is what it is. I'm not trying to be negative. I think you guys know that I put work behind my opinions. But I'm going bottom 3 for both units. They're the weakest position on the team right now, and it's not like we're a playoff team. Like we were 2-14 for a reason. One of them being Adam Gase and Sam Darnold, or 2 of them being Adam Gase and Sam Darnold, which was largely changed this year. But still, would you say they're both bottom 3 in the league, bottom 5?
Tell me the position group again. Sorry, I was just writing down.
Corner, tight end.
Corner, tight end. So what the grade that I wrote down for a corner was, you're going to hate me for this. I wrote down a 2 for the corners. And and listen, to be fair, I wrote this a couple weeks ago before I'm hearing rave reviews about Hall and training camp too. So
mine's
I'm hearing, all right. So from watching Eccles film in college, you really didn't get that much from it. So
which we both were transparent in.
Yeah. So you're hearing some positive things about him in camp too. I still honestly didn't see much of it in the Giants game, to be honest. So I'm honestly give you a little spoiler alert. Actually,
there was something on Twitter. I don't like to call out names. I don't because of whatever. Just I'm the owner of the website and I have to be a little more responsible. Who was saying, oh, the pass interference on Eccles was like ticky-tacky. I'm like, he literally grabbed the guy's arm and pinned it against his chest and was running with him down the field. It was a bad PI.
You word for word said that during watching the game live. But then when you saw the replay, you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, on the first video. And then showed the replay. I was like, ooh, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. So I wrote this probably 15 days ago, maybe. And I wrote down a 2 for the corners just because, dude, modern day NFL, you're having 3, sometimes 4 corners on the field. I mean, like our cornerbacks as a unit is just pretty barren. So that's why I put them as a 2.
With me ranking them above it and giving them like a 3 is more because of Hall, who I think could be a legitimate good number 2. And I think he's starting to show that. I think he showed that last year, obviously considering he continues to tread upward. And then I'm kind of in the mindset where one of these guys is going to hit and at least be like a decent starter role player, like number 4 guy, or maybe even a starter. So like out of Pinnock, Dunn, Eccles, and Guidry, like one of them's going to hit. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling like, okay, you have Hall, and then you have like your number 4, maybe another starter. So like I just think that they threw so much at that position. One of them is going to hit at least decently. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, where they have a lot of youth and unknown at the position. I'm just trying to take a positive approach, so that's the hope. Kind of my feeling. What's your number 8 position?
Okay. 8. So my numbering's all screwed up now since I just threw edge in there, but so I had corners, tight ends, and then running backs.
Okay. I did too. So tell me your reasoning.
And you want the number right now too for the running backs?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Where they rank in the league, and you're 1 to 10. And then
I gave them a 3.5 on a scale of 1 to 10 for the running backs. I mean, here's the thing right now. And part of it is because like, you don't really need to have great running backs to be a good team in the NFL. You don't.
Especially in this system.
Yeah, especially in this system. So even though Joe and I are pretty high on what Ty Johnson could be in this system, like if we're comparing him to running backs throughout the league, I mean, he's just so much of a still very unproven, right? Pirine, what have we seen from him? I mean, even his performance against the Giants was very much overhyped as well. Tevin Coleman, he's definitely on the back end of his career. And Michael Carter's a rookie, 4th round pick. So, I mean, like, we pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, so that 3.5 on a scale of 1 to 10.
And then where do they rank in the league, you think? And again, the thing with this, like before people come at you, like in terms of like where they rank at the end of this year, I think that you have to consider just the position in itself, because I think that the offensive system, the offensive line will aid the running backs to look a little bit better than they are, in my opinion. So they might look better than they are, but in terms of like adding actual like good talent to it, it would be even a bigger upgrade. So I agree with you, like about 3.5. I like Carter a lot. I like Ty Johnson, maybe a 4, because I like Carter. I like Johnson. I think you need like another like number 1-ish type guy.
Yeah,
so I would probably say 4.
Okay, that's fair. And I would say that they're probably I don't have an exact number, but I would say they're a bottom 10 unit in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. What's your 7th?
Okay. Now, because of the so unfortunate news today, I have edge there.
Really?
Yeah. You have it higher?
Wow. Yeah, I have it.
But you don't have Carl Lawson anymore. So
I'm surprised you have him this low still, though.
Okay.
Are you considering JFM an edge?
No, I don't consider him an edge. I know he can play there, but I don't consider him an edge.
You think he's going to play more defensive tackle the snaps this year than D end?
Yeah, I mean they rotate guys a lot on the defensive line. Dude, even when Ndamukong Suh, all right, so even when Ndamukong Suh signed, dude, he got quarterback money when he signed with the Dolphins that many years ago. He only played around 80% of the snaps, even though they're paying him quarterback money. So you always rotate guys on the D line.
I'm not saying they're not rotating. I'm saying that.
But the majority of his snaps are not going to come from him playing a 5.
Really?
I don't think so.
Okay, so you're taking out Q or Rankins on the inside to give Ronald Blair or Curry snaps on the edge. What's your best 4 right now?
Best 4 right now off the top of my head. Q.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, what's the down and distance? Because if it's an obvious passing down, Fadukasi is not going to be in.
Either way, Fadukasi or Rankins.
Okay, let's say
Rankins Q, okay. Fadukasi inside.
Okay, right? So let's say it's 3rd and 10. Yeah. Okay, Fadukasi's not in. All right, I'm gonna have Q in. Okay, I'm gonna have JFM in.
Where?
I'm gonna have Vinny Curry in, and I'm gonna have Huff in.
You're taking Rankins out?
And yeah, I mean, unless Quinnen,
So
if Quinnen doesn't need a blow, yes.
We're talking about just straight up, just what you think they're going to play more. So you rather have Curry on the edge than Rankins on the inside?
I need a guy who can win off the edge. Yes.
You have JFM on the edge to win.
JFM does not going to win off the edge as much as Vinny Curry, even though JFM shows some promise on the edge. And maybe you might want to do that sometimes, but I'm just being honest, Joe. If you give me one snap, it's the final snap in the Super Bowl. And let's say both guys they both have their wind in them. And I can have one guy on the edge. Is it going to be JFM or is it going to be Vinny Curry? I'm going to put Vinny Curry out there.
Okay. But then you're looking at the drop off inside too.
But but there's other guys who I can rotate on the inside and still feel confident then. Like
more than Rankins though? You're basically talking about a pairing of Rankins and JFM, D tackle end, versus JFM and Curry. I think JFM outside and Rankins inside blows Curry outside and JFM inside out of the water.
So tell me your 4 that you'd have in that same 3rd and 10 situation.
Curry, Rankins inside, and then JFM.
Wait, Curry inside, you said?
Sorry. Rankins, Q inside,
okay.
And then Curry and JFM outside. I can't believe you take Rankins out to get Curry on the edge when JFM can win on the edge. Like he just won against the right tackle last game and got a pass deflection. Like he can win on the edge.
I know he can. This is one of the things that I said very frequently on our streams is like, that was one thing that like really impressed me was like that he could win, but I just don't think that he wins at the level that Curry does. And he doesn't have that experience. And that's not where he's most comfortable either. But you're also,
who's your guy inside with Q then? Oh, JFM. Yeah.
And you also don't have Huff in too, but Huff can also apparently win off the edge too.
He could play edge. Nobody in the chat's really commenting on that, but I can't believe that's your take, to be completely honest. I think the drop off from having Rankins, again, assuming he's going to be near what he was in 2018 or even in 2020 in limited snaps, is a much more effective player inside than Curry is on the edge. Like Curry's good, but he's older, not as effective as Curry. So or not as effective as Rankins. So I'd rather find a way to get Curry inside. And if that means that kicking JFM, who's still effective on the edge, maybe he's a B+ inside and a B on the edge. He's still really good at both positions.
The thing that definitely really helps your argument is the youth factor, because I mean, JFM could potentially develop into a really good player, and Curry's very much on the back end of his career. So in theory, it's very much possible that JFM is just clearly better no matter where you line him up, especially on the edge this year, just because he's younger. So
yeah, I know I get like where you're taking that, but like, I just think that getting Rankin's talent to the field over Curry is much more of a high priority for me than it is for you. I just think Rankin's be on the bench in a pass rushing situation. Like you watch those reviews of him, and he's probably not the same guy, but he's probably close to it. We saw him versus the Giants left guard the other game. You watched it. He's still really explosive, and he can get to the quarterback in a split second. So I'd much rather have him on the field than Curry, and kind of having to, maybe JFM is a little bit more uncomfortable on the edge than he is inside, but I still think that difference is less.
Who do you want at the 3 and who do you want at the 1 versus Quinnen and Sheldon?
That's really tough. Because I think Q and Rankins are best at the 3. And I think Rankins is not as stout as Q. So I think Rankins at 3, Q at 1.
Okay.
But it's not like he's stacking versus guards and centers. Like he's one gap penetrating. So it's different than stacking, 3, 4, 2 gapping. Mm-hmm. So I just think that Rankins versus Curry, that's the real argument kind of with JFM taking a little bit you're still going to stick with your guns there.
Yeah, I think I am.
I'm surprised. Honestly. I am very surprised.
And listen,
that's a Twitter vote that you will lose.
Probably.
You will lose that one badly.
Fans love JFM, and I think that, dude. So we had this kind of discussion. Like people just kind of think like you can automatically plug JFM as an edge rusher, and he's just going to be like really effective there. Like I don't know what percentage he played as a 5 technique last year, but it was pretty sparingly. But when he did play there, he was pretty effective. I just don't think it's something you want to do for a large course of the game and think that he's going to be that effectively. Like, I think part of the reason why he did win when they put him out there is because teams weren't used to it, right? Like, how much was an offensive tackle in his week of prep up to the game studying for John Franklin Myers to rush against him? I don't think he was studying for it. I don't think he was preparing for it, right? Yeah. So when you can surprise a team with something like that, that's why that stuff works sometimes. So I think that I probably would lose that poll, but I think that Jets fans think, oh, you can just plug JFM as a defensive end and it'll be good. Like,
I think that you, based on how you're speaking right now, I think that you are undervaluing how effective he was also at edge last year. Like, it's not like he's a completely different player.
Maybe I am a little bit. And maybe I'm also overhyping Vinny Curry a little bit too, but
he's good.
I've always kind of liked him as a player.
No, for sure. He's good. Like, he's a good situational edge rusher, but I'd rather have Rankins in for sure over Curry.
Mm-hmm.
For like, let's say you had nobody on your roster right now. You can pick Rankins at D tackle. You don't know any of those sets versus Curry as a 5 tech, and you have to win on that rep. You're taking Rankins or Curry?
As a 5 tech.
No, as a 5 tech versus a 3 tech. Who's going to win the rep if you had to bet on one guy?
Well, I'm not understanding your question. Maybe I'm just stupid.
In a vacuum, you just have Rankins versus a guard, or you have Curry versus an edge. I think we're both taking Rankins pretty easily. Wow.
Yeah.
You are lower on Rankins than I thought you were.
Yes, I would agree with you too, but I would agree with you there.
And now is that distance distance between those two?
So hear me
worth the difference of JFM on the edge versus having.
I'm going to give you a dose of your own medicine now. So you were saying that I'm kind of downplaying JFM's effectiveness off the edge, but I think you might be overhyping Sheldon Rankins on the interior, because I think you are a little bit. I think you're still really caught up on 2018.
Dude, watch the 2020 stuff. It's out there. You know it's out there. And I watched it. And I was like, his 2019 stuff, bull rushing a lot, ducking his head, not using technique, not as explosive. 2020, I consistently said, it looks like he's getting it back. He's not maybe not as explosive, but there's a lot of explosive plays on film in 2020. So if he is just what he was in 2020, I'm taking that. And Nani has a little numbers and break it down, whatever. You saw the review. But apparently I have to back up with numbers now too. If you look at what he did in limited snaps in 2020, his rep count went down, but he was still really effective in terms of quarterback hits and pressures in 2020. Like, more effective than Curry played like such a limited snaps. Like, obviously it's going to be maybe a little bit more heightened because he's so rested and stuff, but I think you're undervaluing what Rankins is. Like, I get your argument.
I think I am. I think you're right about that, but let's just put it this way.
So now is that difference between Rankins and Curry worth the difference of JFM from D tackle to edge versus having whoever I said else in the game? I said I had a JFM and Curry. I still have Curry on the field.
I know you do.
Who are you putting at?
I said Huff on the other side too, but I have two guys. I have two guys out there that normally line up out there. You're putting a guy out there who normally lines up inside. That's not where he's most comfortable. And you know that.
Hope said both of you have Jets buys right now. Joe, you're much more level on film reviews. It's not like I'm saying Rankins is going to be absolutely dominant. I'm saying I think so. My 3 guys that I'm in, like, have of the game, like you're talking about Huff, Curry at the end, and JFM inside, where I'm talking about Curry, JFM on the edge with Rankins inside. I can't believe you're trying to find you're finding a way for Rankins or for Huff or Curry in the game over finding a way for Rankins in the game. We're kind of going in circles here, but
we are. But the way that I'm looking at it is, if it's 3rd and 10 or 4th and 10 games on the line, and I'm going to put guys in where they're most comfortable, especially if I'm not throwing like, I'm going to dial up some complex thing and hit them with some kind of blitz or something like that.
Rankins is eating a hot dog on the sideline while guys are most comfortable.
Yeah, but you're putting JFM in a position where, yes, he can play there, but that's not like.
No, it'll be 3rd and 10. He'll just play from the edge. He'll beat his guy and get a pass deflection, and almost get intercepted by Hamza Nasruddin like he did in the Giants game.
All right. Well, you want to keep going on with this?
I don't know. I think I should end the show.
You want to convince me But sometimes people I got my heels dug in right now.
Hoof. I don't know how we're
But you are
biased. I think we're having a good discussion.
You're making great points though, but we're getting really down the rabbit hole again now. And
I'm just I think the poll should be no.
You could put the poll out there, and I do think I will.
Would you rather have a 4-man front of this or this?
Yeah, and say
you might get assisted by
say it's 4th and 10, games on the line.
You might get assisted just because Huff had a really good game last game. And to be completely honest, I think there's an argument for Huff over Curry at edge, depending on or based on what he showed last year.
Sure.
And then what he showed in the preseason game. So if I put out the poll, I might put Huff at the end.
Sure.
Depending. I'm not sure yet. But moving on, that's your 7th D end.
Yeah. So yes, that's what I got.
I have safety.
No way. Come on, man.
Yeah, I have safety. I'm not comfortable. So we have to kind of decipher, is this going forward or is this kind of like for this year?
I understood it as this year.
Okay. So let me adjust then. If it's for this year, I'm putting quarterback at 7, just because like, if we could say that Wilson is a little bit below average this year, I don't think we'd necessarily be giddy about it, but that's probably our expectations. Don't answer to Hope's being biased right now because he calls you Ronnie and he loves you. Apparently he agreed with me earlier and now he's saying, oh, you can't give teachers the mic and stuff. So I don't know what it is. He
said he's arguing with, I was going to comment on the arguing with the student thing. He's saying that I was going to say that I'm definitely more of the student in the Blewett Smith relationship.
Yeah, I get disrespected by Hoof right now. I'm the student? You fucking wild? No, Kyle knows this shit too, but I'm not a student. You know what? I'm the vice principal, and Kyle is the most senior teacher.
I did get teacher of the year, so
there you go. There's probably a lack of choice, but it's okay. Quarterback.
I'll make sure never to show this to my staff now because they're going to say, "Oh, there's lack of choice," and they're going to be mad at you.
Whatever. I don't know who they are. They all suck though. So yeah, I'm going quarterback just because like, and I think it's an argument for this or safety, because if you're talking about the 2 starters at safety, May is a plus starter. Joyner is a below average starter. So maybe they equal out to average, but I think Wilson, instead of being average, like let's say average is 16, he might be 18 to 20. So I think it's a slight drop off, but I'm going to say quarterback at 7 where you're putting D end.
What did you put the number ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 for quarterback?
I guess I'll put it at like 5. This is just for this year. This is this year. Don't get me mistaken. I like Wilson a lot. I put out more than 6 hours of film reviews on him. I love him, but I'm talking about this year, rookie year, a 5 average.
Okay.
So what'd you put at the end?
You're asking what number value did I put for it?
The DNs that you're taking over Sheldon. That's
Rankins, the one thing
probably your top position.
That's the one thing I didn't write before. So I'll just do it off the top of my head right now. And this is not factoring in Lawson. I'll give it a 5.
And you're saying that a 5 with Curry and Huff, who are making up a large part of that third down package or whatever that you have, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking.
Okay.
So 7 is corner. Who's your 6?
Linebackers.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we're a little bit different here. My 6, I already told you, is safety, just because I think they'll have 2 linebackers in the field, and I'm more comfortable, me personally, with Mosley and let's say Hamza versus May and Joyner.
Okay. Well, listen, Mosley's a baller. That's for sure.
Mosley is better at linebacker than Joyner, than May is at safety. And I think that's
agree with
very,
that.
very easy.
I definitely agree with that.
Okay. So then what's the big difference? You're saying Joyner is a lot better than Hamza or Davis? I think they're really valued this one, Kyle Smith.
Well, I want to say yes too. I mean, Davis is.
Thank you, Edward. By the way, I see in there.
Davis has kind of been like labeled as a busted. We're really we see the potential there, right? But he has not like really lived up to that potential.
Now factor in who his linebackers coaches are and who they develop. That's kind of like I'm factoring that in. I really am.
And then I was thinking, and when I made this a couple weeks ago, I'm thinking about Sherwood. Ugh. Okay. And then like Hamza is still relatively unproven. Cashman. Ugh. And then I was thinking, okay, well, who's the other safeties too? Okay. Neesman. Okay. Ashton Davis. There's potential there. So that's why I have safeties. And I'm definitely higher on May than you are too. So that also factors into it. But
okay.
I totally agree with you that Mosley's better as a linebacker than May as a safety. There's no
we'll hit this
there.
real quick. MN said Tony Downs is tweeting out the Jets should trade a 1 and a 3 for TJ Watt. There's absolutely no way in hell the Jets get TJ Watt, who's a top 5 edge rusher, for a 1 and a 3. It's not, you'd have to trade like two, at least 2 1s and a 3 as a minimum. And that might not get it done.
Teams don't trade elite edge rushers. I know that Khalil Mack got traded a couple years ago, but the Raiders royally fucked that up. And you could think
he was also
they could thank John
Gruden
for that.
Yeah. So,
but I think the Raiders regretted that. I mean, Derek Carr even kind of said as much that trade didn't work out for them. So,
what's your rating on linebackers and where do they fall in the league?
So linebackers, I gave them. This is probably.
I'm doing off the top of my head. I don't even have the rankings written down, to be completely honest.
I'm switching this right now since you don't even have it written down. I'm gonna give them a 6.0, and that's pretty much mostly Mosley.
I for linebackers. Okay, I'm giving safety. I'm gonna say they're an average unit. I'm gonna give them like a 5.1 because I gave quarterback a 5. I just.
0.1s. I did 0.5s, but I don't know.
Okay, 5.5 because I like May a lot, and I think he's a plus starter. I think
you don't solid. Like May a lot. Stop BSing.
Okay, I think May is a solid starter. Is that fair? I just don't think he's elite like everybody else thinks he is. And based on the tweet I sent you today, he's doing what he's done in the past, and nobody notices because that's a broadcast. So he blows more coverage than people realize.
Yeah. Tell them the tweet that you or the text that you sent me today.
Well, that and I consider like the Chiefs game, he was beat. The Raiders game, he was beat twice. The ball wasn't completed. He got burned deep in a big situation. And then it comes out today that where is it? Hold on, I didn't realize I texted you this much.
It was last night. Night.
It says it's a note. I think it's from. I'll give credit to it. DJ Bienemy put it out on Twitter, and it says during the 2-minute drill, Rodgers threw a touchdown to Valdez scaling over the middle. It was a busted coverage by Marcus May, and Marcus May was quoted saying, "I got to see that over route. That's all it is. I just have to see it and carry it." May said, and I've been consistently saying May blows more coverages than people realize, but the quarterback either can't get to it or doesn't get to that progression in his progressions. Or somebody else is just beat because the Jets' corners have been so bad. But Marcus May is good. He's just overrated by fans. I think that goes without saying. He's overrated by fans. So with him, who's solid, Joyner is a below-average starter. Let's be honest. He is. Ashton Davis, at this point, while he has potential, is a below-average starter.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
I'm looking at linebacker and saying Mosley, top 10. I think I'm very confident saying that this year. He's top 10. I've been saying that before training camp even happened. And then based on who the Jets linebackers coach have coached in the past, Deion Jones, Quan Alexander, et cetera, all these freaking guys, and, I think that a guy in Hamza and Davis will be coached up to be, good. And
here's one thing I'm noticing. I'm putting more value in like depth of a position group than you are. That's one trend.
What's the depth of? Okay, so what's the depth you're talking about versus safety versus linebacker? You're talking about Ashton Davis versus Sherwood.
So you're giving a higher value based on like one starter, like Mosley versus May. Like Mosley in your mind, and you're right about this, way better than May. So I think that factors into your overall grade of the group more. Whereas I'm saying, okay, there's going to probably be at least 2 linebackers on the field a lot of times, and a lot of times there's going to be 2 safeties on the field too.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking at both guys more. And I think I'm valuing that into my numbering more than you are. And somebody said May is a terrible tackler. May is not a terrible tackler. May's a good tackler. I wouldn't say he's great or anything like that. He's not a thumper like Jamal Adams is, but May is a solid tackler. He has good technique. He takes good angles.
Sean Johnson says, thank you for finally telling the truth. I've been talking about that a lot with May. I think maybe relatively new, but that's been what it's been. Can we get some positive vibes in here? We're just speaking truthfully. So yeah. And you're talking about depth, but like the depth you're talking about is Ashton Davis and Neesman versus, let's say we're talking about
Joyner too. Joyner as well.
No, he's a starter. He's a starter.
Well, I know. when I say depth, when I say depth there, I'm not just saying like guys who are coming in off the bench. I also mean like guys who will play on the field a lot too. Like
Okay,
I'm not just
so-
focusing on like the one best starter
Okay, so
at a given position group.
let's eliminate Mosley and May, who Mosley's clearly better. Now you're talking about Davis, Hamza, Sherwood, Cashman.
Okay, so let's all right, so let's take the
Davis,
second
Joyner.
best safety and the second best linebacker right now. Joyner has showed a lot more in his career than Davis has. Not from a physicality standpoint, not from a raw talent standpoint, but just from consistently making plays and being where you need to be and being an overall solid player. Right?
Yeah,
I don't think you can argue with that.
But that was also in 2018, 2017.
And then
Davis is probably more on the uptick.
Like Ashton Davis, okay. Really early third round pick. There's a lot more potential there than there is with someone like Sherwood.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So that's
I think the depth argument you got me for sure because of Davis's potential. And Joyner, I think Joyner and Davis will be about even this year in terms of their value to their position group. But I'm taking that loss in depth versus the high upside of Mosley versus May this year and their impact.
okay.
It's close. But safety is my 6, and I'll give like a 5.5 and put it like 16th in the league, 16th to 18th. Maybe a slightly below average just because of 15 to 17, let's say. Who is your 5th? We have to move through this. We have a 53-man roster still.
Yeah. Okay. So 5th, I got quarterback.
Okay. So I had that 2 picks ago.
And I gave them a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Do you think Wilson's going to be, well, if you're valuing depth here, Wilson better be a 7 or 8 himself.
Well, here's another way I look at it. Like Wilson, if another quarterback, like, so also when I'm saying depth, I'm not just saying like
I know
guys who are coming off the bench in case of an injury, but like guys who are actually going to take the field. Like if you have a good quarterback, like he never comes off the field. So I don't have to worry about like someone else coming in. So that was part of the reason behind that.
Okay. So you think Wilson's going to be above average this year in his first year?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be about average, maybe slightly below average. Transition. Okay. But I think you can attest to this. You watch all the stuff. I'm higher on Wilson than I was on Darnold based on time of film reviews. And this is also, and I said Darnold's going to be fantastic. I really like Darnold. But
Darnold.
And I love Wilson. And I was transparent about Wilson versus Fields. Even when Wilson wasn't the guy, I said I liked him a lot more than Fields. And I could be transparent in saying I know a lot more than I did in 2021 than I did in 2017. 4 years, I know a lot more than I do then. That was in an infancy. Yeah.
There you go.
Of like the film review stuff where now I'm much more comfortable. But number 5, I am going to defensive end, which I think is about a 6 and probably in that average range too. I like the potential of Huff. I like Curry as a situational rusher. I like JFM as a D end. That's what
Ronald Blair.
That's what he's going to be playing the most. Ronald Blair is somebody who is slept on by fans. Nobody mentions him. People, he's going to get cut off the roster. Blair is better than people think he is for sure. And then even if you can argue guys like Hamilcar or Rashid on the edge, maybe Zuniga makes it, but I put them at about average with a 6, and right in the middle of the roster. Not bad, but whatever. And if Lawson was on this group, he'd be a lot better. But they're my 5th. Who are your 5th?
Well, I think you asked me who's my 5th already, and I said quarterback.
Okay, so sorry. Who is your 4th? Mine's linebacker. I'm going
about 4th. I have safety.
Okay,
and I gave them a 6.5. Maybe that's too high, but whatever. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, maybe I gave him a 5.5. So you're a point above me. I have linebacker. I think it's a 6 too. I think it's pretty much even with defensive end. I like the depth of the defensive ends more, but there's no CJ Mosley on the defensive end group, in terms of their impact. Obviously there would be.
He's a stud, man.
Mosley?
He's gonna have a great year.
He's really freaking good. You're still including Lawson in your top 25, right? That we're doing next week? Because he's still on the team. He's still on the team.
Yeah. I haven't made that list yet.
Interesting. I've changed my order so many times. I'm interested to hear yours, like so many times. Top 3 positions. Number 3 for me, I think we're both going to be number 3, the same offensive line, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Ranking 6.5, 7?
I gave him
7?
6.5. 6.5.
Yeah. 6.5. They're probably, I think you'd agree, in that 13 to 16 range, 12 to 16. I think they're about average, a little bit above average.
Yeah.
And this is considering a lot of these guys are in their infancy. Beckton's going to get better. ABT's going to get better, but they're still young. I think McGovern is going to be average center this year. I do. He looks pretty good in the Giants game. I think Moses, Fant are going to be about average. And then you have a below average guy in McGovern, which brings them to about slightly above average right now. So I would put them at about a 6.57 and rate them about, 12 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
Fair?
Yeah.
Now the depth took a hit, like I said, with Clark and Lewis going out, because those are two guys who I predicted to be on the team and who I was comfortable with them. Look, a 4th round pick and a guy who started a bunch of games in the NFL being our backups. Now they're both gone. So it took a hit. So let's move it down to 6.5, not even 7. What are you laughing at?
Someone brought up Zuniga, and dude, we didn't factor him in our discussions at all. That tells you what we think about him.
Yeah. We'll see. Okay. So top 2, we're gonna have the same thing, Kyle. Then we can run to the 53-man roster. Appreciate all the 80 people who are in here for the whole, 2.5 hours. We have probably about an hour left with the 53-man roster at least. Then there'll be like our really solid 50 who are like never leave. I'll do a freaking stream until 4, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure I'd have the same like 50.
Dude, I could not believe that I came home. I mean, you were super souped after that game. Dude, compare our level of excitement after that game and seeing Wilson play well to today after the horrible.
It took a hit, but I think it's more.
We're still
about,
very excited.
It's the first game of the season. I was many brews deep. I wanted to talk to my people in the chat. Like I just having a good time.
What did your wife say? I'm curious.
She was like, she kind of gave me like a nondescript. She wouldn't like directly like comment on it, but she's kind of like, yeah, you fucking idiot. Like that's kind of what it was, like dumbass. So
for you guys that didn't watch, like I was streaming with Joe for like 3-something hours, and then I left, and I live about 30 minutes from him. I drove home, and I went on my phone, to like see, how many viewed and things like that when I got home, and he's still streaming. He's still talking to people.
Dude, people wanted to talk. I talked to him. It was a good time. We had a lot of fun. That was like one of the most fun streams I think I've ever had.
It was a fun stream.
Yeah, it was
a lot of excitement, and yeah,
it was fun. Wide receiver.
Yeah, I have wide receiver at 2. Yep.
Wide receiver at 2. I
gave them an 8.
Yeah, 8. More depth than top heavy. If they get another player this year, they could legit be very, very good. But yeah, an 8. Like they are stacked. They might not have Julio Jones or AJ Brown or Keenan Allen or one of these guys, but I think, being fair, I think Corey Davis is a lower tier number 1. Elijah Moore seems to be an electric rookie. Keelan Cole is really, really good depth. Mims, depending on what you think of him, I think he's gonna be good this year. And you have Crowder, who's a top 15, top 10 slot in the league. So it's a really deep group and a group with a lot of potential.
He's definitely a top 10 slot, no question.
Especially if Davis takes steps in the direction he did last year, and you have more. If he is what he is, this is a good group. It's a really, really good group. And if they can keep them together, I think next year most likely Crowder
is very
well
rounded too. Very well rounded as well.
I think Crowder is probably gone. Lester, Phillip, Kyle, Joe, how you guys doing? What's up? Sharman, Mike, got to support your efforts here. It is really the most comprehensive Jets analyst I've seen. Appreciate that. Jordan, what's up? So yeah, wide receivers 8. I'm going to say they are a 7 to 10 unit in the league.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
5 to 10. I'd say 5 to 10.
That's the one thing I didn't do. I didn't exactly put a number on where they rank throughout the league, but I did put a number value on a scale.
Eugene Stan says Crowder's underrated. I completely agree. At this point, he's being underrated. He's still a really good slot receiver. He is. So
just because people were putting him in the same ballpark with Jeremy Curley, they should
just cut him, save the money, and Braxton Berrios are they're not that different of a player.
Oh my God, I can't believe that was a real argument people were having last year.
They're both in the slot. they're both small. They're both shifty. So that means that the route running is the same. Their understanding of the defense, zone concepts, where to sit down. It's all the same, just as they're fast and twitchy.
Yeah.
So 8, and I'm going to say 5 to 10. Defensive tackle, Kyle, which is going to include Sheldon Rankins, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
And when I wrote down the number value, I was I don't know why I did this too, because when I did my 53-man roster, I differentiated between defensive line and edge. So I don't know why I didn't put edge for here, but whatever. I gave them an 8.5, and that's factoring in Lawson too. I thought about giving them a 9.
With Lawson, you give him an 8.5?
Yeah.
I'd give him a 9 if it was.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about that too, but that's what I did. But yeah, that's definitely position group number 1, no question about it. Especially if you're considering Lawson in there.
Chris Turner said there was still over 100 people at like 3 a.m. Yeah, it was over 100 because Eagle was like, listen, bro, it's either after 3 or we drop to 100, I'm leaving. And then it was like 3:10. There was still like 102 people here. It's like just like bouncing. There's excitement. Again, everyone wants to talk. Now there's 70. It's a Thursday night. It's preseason. Lawson just got injured. People are probably drowning in their sorrows right now. But let's see. Defensive tackle, I would say it's an 8.5 and a 5 to 7 unit in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that D-line group, if you're factoring in edge in there, would have been so fun this year. And they're still going to be fun. They'll still be fun, but it's a very different dynamic. Like I said at the top of the show, there's no replacing Lawson.
Based on you not loving Quinnen as much as I do, and apparently, you put JFM in the.
I like Quinnen
tackles.
I like Quinnen a lot. I don't love him the way some people do.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so going to the 53-man roster, Kyle will start from the offense, the most generic lineup. I have 2 making it. I don't think based on the depth of those other positions, it's worth to keep 3.
Yeah, I'm with you.
To be honest, not to be honest, it's what I have. I have Wilson and Morgan. I think it's probably Wilson and White, but if I had to bet on it, it's Wilson and somebody who's on the roster right now. That's what I think it is. I just can't see them carrying 3. White bounced around a couple teams, hasn't really proven much. Morgan, 4th round pick. Maybe they keep him. Maybe he shows one of these next couple of games. If I had to bet my life on it, it's White over Morgan. I let not my bias, but that creep in a little bit, I guess, here. But I really think it's Wilson and undetermined as the quarterbacks.
I put Wilson and Mike White. My question for you is, who the hell is going to be the other person that they're going to pick up so late?
Well, you have like a Nick Foles, maybe a Brian Hoyer's cut, maybe a Nick Mullins, even though Nick Mullins is apparently playing better than some of the Eagles players like Hurts and stuff like that. But regardless, Verge said,
I feel like if they really wanted one of those guys, they would have made the jump on one of them by now.
Yeah, I think they should have.
They could have signed Mullins for the longest time, and Foles. I mean, I don't think there was really much smoke behind those rumors.
Verge, thank you for the super chat. Says
Verge.
Verge has been Verge. I don't know if I didn't see him as much the last year, but the last couple of months he's been one of our biggest supporters. So
yes, very true.
Yeah, Verge is always here. Rather give you two than the liquor store. So appreciate that. Hey, hopefully you have something in the cabinet, that you could pour out. So, or pour into a cup. So appreciate that a lot. Verge is now, I believe it. I know he's in the pick'ems. I think he's in the fantasy league too. So he's a chance to beat both of us. We'll see if he does, Kyle.
I don't think they're going to pick someone else up at quarterback.
I think they need to, but I guess if I had to pick 2, it's probably.
I think it's different than picking up like a kicker. Well, it's obviously way different than like picking up a kicker or picking up someone else from a different position group. But and someone like a Mullins, okay, he'll have a very easy time learning this offense. But especially if it's like someone else, like even Foles, Foles is a veteran. So, okay, I wouldn't say he'd have a hard time learning it, but all the exact terminology that they're going to use with this staff, it's going to take them a while to get used to all that terminology and stuff. I don't think they're going to sit and wait to pick someone up and thinking that's actually going to be like a good plan. I think that they're going to roll with who they have at this point. And Mike White has showed the most. So I think it's going to be him. But you still wrote Morgan though, right?
Yeah, I just changed it to White because I'm allowed to.
Yeah, you are.
Because if I had to bet, so I think that's what I should do. If I had to bet on it being White or Morgan, I think White's farther along. So it would be White. I just think on base who I would keep, it would be Morgan because I think either way we're screwed, and I'd rather have the 4th round draft pick who might be able to develop. So I'm gonna say Wilson, White, 2 quarterbacks.
Morgan has a way better arm than White. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. His arm is good. Like he has a really good.
That
arm.
pass that he threw to 14, Montgomery.
Oh yeah, like the slot fade or whatever it was.
Yeah,
really
nice touch.
You cannot walk that better into a better spot.
Yeah, that was a nice.
But in terms of like command and all that stuff, Edward Stewart seems to be a big fan of I think it's White. Or no?
He's a big fan of Mike White.
No, somebody said they like Mike White. Oh, that was Eugene.
Hey, listen, Mike White has showed more than I think any of us realistically expected him to show, but I mean,
he's not something you want as your backup quarterback.
Yeah, he's got. I mean, he has a very, 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 poor arm in terms of comparing to NFL starters.
I think we're going to agree a lot in this 53-man roster prediction, but your running backs.
I got four of them.
Yeah.
Carter, Johnson, P. Ryan, Coleman.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, Carter's a lock. Johnson's a lock. Coleman, I think, is a lock. Minus if he gets injured, maybe they get rid of him. P. Ryan, he's a 4th round draft pick last year. Regardless of what you're going to say about Adam Gase and the offense and all this shit, he did not look good because of P. Ryan. P. Ryan was P. Ryan's problem. His vision was not good. His last game, a little bit overrated. So people are starting to like, oh, P. Ryan's going to be the number 1 back just because they saw him score a touchdown, the only touchdown in a preseason game. P. Ryan has proven more than he did last year, but like just to hype him up, like I would still at this point, if you had to take one guy on one run, I'm still taking Josh Adams over him. But I think P. Ryan, based on his draft position, will make the team over Josh Adams. But I'm not like overly hyped on.
Yeah, and I think P. Ryan will give you more in the passing game than Adams.
Yeah. Okay. Edwards has P. Ryan needs to pick it up 100%. Like I thought he could be like a 2A, 2B, like a change of pace type back. I never thought he was gonna be a 1, but he looked like to me like, and this is not a direct comparison of their game, but he looked like a Blau Powell type player, like a guy who's number 2, good number 2, a little bit different, more power in his game, less like shake than Powell had. But last year he disappointed. He did, and this last game again he got a 4-yard touchdown in an inside tight zone. And the offensive line pushed guys 2-3 yards, and he just stuck his head in and drove for 2 yards. Like, is that really that impressive? Like, does that really show me a lot? Other than you can put your head down and drive your legs? Not really. Let's be honest. The patience on that power toss were nice, or the patience on that power toss was nice. But he's a lot to prove. So I think I don't know if you put this like as your depth chart kind of. I kind of like listed in depth chart order a little bit.
Do it like that now.
But like it's for me, it's like it's probably Johnson right now. Johnson, Carter, Coleman, P. Ryan, but regardless, those are my 4. People talk about them carrying 3. I don't see them carrying 3.
Speaking of overrating P. Ryan, we know who's the biggest P. Ryan overrater. It's Eagle Fang.
Is he?
Yeah, he's big on the P. Ryan train.
Eagle watches every single review, I'm sure, or at least most of them. I don't know how he'd be so. He's
a Florida guy.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He is. Verge. Every time Adam gets the ball, he does well with it. Again, if I had to take one running back for one game, let's just say one game. You taking Josh Adams or P. Ryan? I'm taking Josh Adams pretty easily right now. But P. Ryan, based on his draft status, I think is going to be the guy. But it is what it is. Yeah. Powell had so much power in his legs. Edwards Stewart said, yeah, he always fell forward. Powell. I love Powell. Tight end group, Kyle. How many and who?
Tight ends, I got Wesco, Herndon, Croft, 3.
Same. People think like, oh, you should carry 4 or whatever. Tell me why a Yeboah deserves to make the roster over
there's 0 arguments for that.
Over a Ronald Blair or over a whoever else you're going to talk about on defense or an offensive lineman, or there's a lot of tougher roster cuts coming on. So I think they carry 3 because that's what the talent dictates they do. Like, why are you just going to carry another guy to carry another guy? They don't have now the surprising thing with this is, and it makes me not as comfortable, Griffin I saw him in the preseason game before I saw Croft. But I like Croft as the best tight end. Griffin as or Herndon as a 2, and Wesco as like the flex fullback tight end. It's a little bit thin of a group to carry only 3 on a team that, Kyle, we were a little bit surprised watching it live, that ran a little bit more 12 and 21 than we thought, just based on the talent. So it's a little bit thin for teams that run a lot of 12, but I just can't. Maybe they stash it on the practice squad. If a guy gets injured, they bring him on. I just can't see a 4th tight end being more valuable than like that 5th defensive tackle or defensive end.
I don't think that Griffin gives you anything from like a physicality standpoint. Like, I think the only reason he got so much playing time with the Jets the past couple of years, A, because they had a very thin roster, but B, just because I think he's smart and he has the trust from the coaching staff. But even if you look at like some of the touchdowns he had and stuff, it was like on like, you know, like an end around where he would just be like wide open in the end zone on like some kind of misdirection play. Like, he doesn't gain any separation. He's not fast. He had bad hands last year. He's not a good blocker. I mean, like, there's really no upside to keeping Griffin. He's old now. So it's like, why keep him?
I will be not the bearer of bad news, but he actually did look a little bit better in blocking in the Giants game that he has in the past. But it's one preseason game against backups. So that's what I was like. Eugene Stan said we don't even need 3 tight ends because Fant can also play tight end. Listen, can he be like a jumbo tackle? Yes. Did he probably play tight end where he's leaked
300
out,
pounds now,
where he leaked out and was eligible for like 10 plays with the Seahawks in that one year? Yes. Can he actually be dependable or depended on as a 3rd tight end? No. So people always say, oh, he can play tight end. No, he can't. He's not a tight end. He's an extra tackle who if you had one of the offensive linemen to report for eligible and like run one of those like leak plays, then yeah, sure.
So why do people say this? He must have caught a touchdown with the Seahawks, and he was a basketball player.
It's a Twitter thing. He's a basketball player. He's a lighter guy, more athletic, so people automatically assume he plays tight end.
Guys, please stop letting one little highlight or one little play or one little workout video that you saw from someone just completely alter your opinion of what you think a player can do. Stop that.
Eugene, and I'm not trying to, Eugene, you're saying you don't need receiving, but that's a part of tight end. So you're talking about him being an extra tackle. That's all you're talking about. You're not talking about tight end. It's different, obviously. So moving on from that, we both are locked with our roster so far. I'm wondering where we're going to have a difference. I'm keeping in mind, we'll see who is more right, depending on when the roster comes out. The tight end group is like, it's so like we haven't had it. We talked about it before in terms of like talking about like the talent we've had at tight end. Like, who are our like plus tight ends in our history? Like, I know Mickey Schuler.
I mean, we thought that Keller would be that. Like, he was the 30th overall pick. We actually traded up back into the first round to pick him.
You said Amaro?
I didn't say Amaro. I was talking about Keller.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Amaro was like top of the 2nd round, right?
Yeah, no, Dustin Keller, but you know, he was good from like 2008. I think he was drafted to like 2012, 13. He was good. He was hurt. Like he was productive. It was just injuries. Phil C says, can Wesco fill the 49er use check role? Not a shot in hell.
No, he's more of a bruising fullback. He's not going to go out and route. Like he'll go on a route, like, but more of like a disguised route. Like, no, he's not going to be running. He's not going to be outrunning Fred Warner down the sideline like Juszczyk can, you know? Yeah,
Juszczyk is pretty much one of a kind in the league. There's really no other player like him right now.
Ray Lewis changed his life, Eugene said. Yeah, I was there for that game when Ray Lewis hit him across the middle, and he was dead.
2010 opening game.
Yeah, he was dead. That game was like, what was like? It was like 6-7 or something like that.
It was 9-10. Jets had 3 field goals.
9-10. Yeah, that was.
And honestly, dude, they weren't even moving. Sanchez had like 74 yards passing that game.
You know, the funny story, I referenced the guy who told me that golf is better than football.
Didn't even play that game.
He said golf is better than football. 2 of my buddies, one got like sick and one bailed because he's a bitch. And I had a ticket. And the only guy I knew who could go was that guy because he's my parents' friend. He's at the house. Like, I was like relatively like, you know, like close to him. He's like a family friend. And then he went with me. The worst game I've ever been to. It's just brutal. And he's a Giants fan who's like just like an asshole, like how good, you know, whatever. But yeah, but like the only tight ends I can think of like Keller, Chris Baker in the early 2000s was like okay, like he was decent for a couple of years. And I know Mickey Schuler was in the 80s and he was good, but other than that, who have the plus starters been at tight end the Jets have ever had? Like you're talking about edge. What about like tight end too? Obviously, edge is more important, so it's to talk about more. But they've had good tight ends in forever.
Yeah.
So
honestly, I mean, if you compare just offensive play, like the Jets have to have one of. I mean, I know historically wise they're one of the worst franchises, but this like especially from an offensive standpoint, like just take like Fitz at 31 passing touchdowns has the record for passing touchdowns. Like that's embarrassing. That 31 is the record.
We've had like one 300-yard passing game in like the last like 10 years.
Sanchez had two, or not Sanchez. Sanchez did have two. I know in those back-to-back like overtime wins, Browns and the Lions. Darnold had like two in his career, like early on, like, and those both came his rookie year. I'm pretty sure one was against the Dolphins week 2. But yeah, I mean, like
such a bad group of tight ends we've had.
Like even Blake Bortles had like a good amount of 300-yard passing games. Like we would be behind in so many games, and we still like teams are just giving us all this underneath shit because they don't care if we get 7 yards on a third down, and we still can't get it. It's embarrassing.
We've had embarrassing quarterbacks and embarrassing receivers, embarrassing tight ends. Our offense has been so bad for so long, minus a couple of years here and there, and in the mid 2000s, 2010, like the last 10 years has been brutal from pretty much every aspect. But moving on, Kyle, wide receivers. I'll go first. I went. You went first with the last two. I'll go first with this one. I have 6. You have 6 as well, or you have 7?
I have 7.
Wow. Okay. I have Davis, Moore, Mims, Crowder, Cole, Berrios, and you threw in Vincent Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Vincent Smith's a good special teams player, and we showed. I said that in our last stream, and think about the Giants. I mean, like he makes returns and stuff too, but now look at that play he made against the Giants, and you were raving about it in your review.
Yeah.
You could run some end around stuff with him too, which this offense throws some of that stuff in here.
I see the fit. Special teams, gadgety player, like the number 2 gadgety player to a, obviously you would rather have more do that. But my thing is going on the roster, and we'll see later, I can't justify keeping Vincent Smith over some of the defensive linemen that I have on the roster, or even the corners. Just based on like kind of taking a shot in the dark on some of those guys. But Berrios is like, from what I understand, the Jets coaching staff and what I saw last year, he's actually a pretty good punt returner. I think people don't understand. It's not really a really focus on position, but a good kick returner and a punt returner are typically a little bit different. You can have guys who are really good at both, but kick returners are a little bit more guys who could build up ahead of steam and who are a little bit bigger. Like I think of like a Josh Cribbs.
You said Cordell Patterson
type guys, where the punt returners are more the Berrios shifty because guys are in your face real quick. So Berrios,
or the punt return, you usually got to make a quick lateral move like right off the bat. Whereas when you're kick returning, you're not doing that right off the bat. Like you're pretty much, by the time you're getting to the point where someone can actually tackle you, you're almost at full speed.
Yes, you got like 10 yards of head start where punt return, it's immediately in your face. So they're different players. So people automatically assume a good punt returner is a good kick returner. I think Berrios is a good punt returner. I wasn't overly, I'm not sure if I'll be honest. I don't remember him returning kicks last year. It was like Corey Ballantyne, right? Who returned kicks a decent amount last year. I forget who the other one was.
I mean, he might have in a pinch, but I'm trying to remember who did they have returning kicks. I mean, they barely return kicks nowadays ever since they moved up.
Eagle Fang asked when the draft time is for our league. It is September 3rd, 7 p.m. It's a loose time, but that's what I'm targeting. 3 spots left in that and the pick'ems. I'll keep promoting it until we get 3 more, but got a couple of random people who joined. Not random, Verge and all these guys and Mike. Love Mike. Mike is like down the street from me apparently. So moving on, you have set. Okay, so that's the difference. You have 7. You have Vincent Smith. And I get that pick. Like if I could fit him, I would, but I just can't. Offensive lineman. What do you got?
We might have a difference here too. I have
8. You have 8. Yeah. See, I don't like 8. Worries me.
Yeah, I was worried about it too, but I was like, honestly, why would I? What's going to make me keep this guy? Like, you probably have more, right?
Well, so to be transparent here, I have Clark just because I think he's going to come back from the IR. I'm not really sure. It's a kind of an undetermined thing, but I know when Clark comes back, he will be on the roster. So I have Clark on my roster.
But even if he does come back, it's not going to be for a while. So like, how could you put him on right now? It's like my thing.
I pretty much put everybody on who is going to be here at some point this season, not guys who are going to be out for the whole season.
Okay.
So like when everybody's healthy, obviously, hopefully nobody else gets season-ending injuries. I have Clark, but if I didn't, I would probably put Vincent Smith on the roster.
By the way,
So
I don't know if anyone knows this, and maybe someone in the chat does. Did anyone hear any news about like there's that designation IR, designated to return, versus IR like for the remainder of the season type thing? Was there any news about like what specific designation he got on IR? Does anyone know that? I don't know, but that's why I put him on the roster. I'm not sure when he's going to be back, but I have Becton, AVT, McGovern, obviously GVR, Moses, Fant, Feeney. I have Clark and David Moore. Yeah, I didn't put Moore on. It was, dude. My thinking is.
So who's your eighth? Because do you have Clark on?
Here's my 8: Becton, AVT, McGovern, Van Rotten, Fant, Morgan Moses, Feeney.
I like how you put Fant. You put Fant before Moses.
There's no particular order.
Okay,
right?
I noticed an order, but okay.
Connor McDermott.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Just like based on like apparently the coaching staff likes him for some reason. Which
this is the thing about Connor McDermott. He's a good team guy, and Douglas. One thing he's preached over and over again is we want to build the best football or culture in sports, something like that. You know, and so McDermott's probably one of these guys who's like always asking the coaches questions, always shows up early for meetings, you know, has his guys' backs. You know, he might be like a really smart guy on the whiteboard. And, you know, and he is tall. Honestly, like when you watch him.
So who's your depth at offensive and interior offensive lineman right now? If you don't have
that much, I don't have that much depth. To be honest.
Who is it? You have nobody.
I mean, I got AVT, Van Rotten, and Feeney, who can all play guard. So not
Feeney
all of them
is your backup center, left guard, and right guard right now on your team.
It's not looking pretty.
That's flawed roster building, my friend. I think you gotta kick off. I adjusted my quarterbacks. I think you got to kick off McDermott for David Moore or Clark.
But here's the thing too. You know, if they really got into some type of situation where they like literally all those guards or 2 of those guards were hurt, you might look at something where maybe you kick Morgan Moses into guard and play Fant out at tackle.
Would they do that without him ever taking a rep at guard? I don't think so. I don't think they just throw him there, a guy who's never played a guard rep versus a guy who's played a guard rep.
Maybe. And this is why this is the exact reason why I thought keeping Moore. But for me, I was like, I know nothing about this guy. How can I put him on the roster? I don't know anything about him.
I assume the Jets used their waiver claim on him, and he was supposed to be like a 4th round draft pick or whatever. So I assume that if they like him that much to pick him up, they must see enough where they are going to want him to stash him on the team. So that's why I
wouldn't be shocked if he makes it. And I'm not saying that I'm building it right, but it's I don't know. I don't think it's what I would. Well,
so the main difference is you have McDermott. I have more for guard depth, and I have Clark, just assuming he's going to be healthy at some point. I really have no idea. And you have Vincent Smith. But
by the way,
Clark's not going to be healthy.
I will say this though. I made this before the whole Alex Lewis retiring thing, which lets you know how highly I think of Alex Lewis. So even if I'm saying I made this before him. So in theory, I probably should have chosen him, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Indy said, keep Tristan Hodge for depth. I think somebody out there at one point had to say that Hodge is good or had good film or PFF or ESPN stats and info, or one of these people put out a good stat about Hodge. Or I think it's like a documentary on him too, like where it's like they followed him around or something like that. Like somebody watching
that's
that.
Probably why.
Why. They have such an inflated opinion of this guy. He hasn't proven anything. And at BYU, he looked like if you just look at his scouting report and what from my scene, he looked really, really, really slow, which is not a good fit for zone. I don't get the love for. I'd rather have David Moore. I'd rather have, whoever else. But no, I don't.
I think even though I didn't write him down, I think there's a good shot David Moore makes this. And yeah, Tristan Hodge, he probably has a very, very.
Would you have Moore over McDermott? Are you gonna change that? Because if you don't get that right in the thing, because you literally have no guard depth. You have Feeney playing all your backup interior offensive linemen. But I know Clark is going to be IR, so I'm going to lose on that. But I'm just kind of just to be transparent,
Well, here's the thing. If I take out McDermott and replace him with Moore, then I'm going to be a little slim in the tackle department in terms of depth.
But there's three backup. There's three backup off. Yeah. I guess either way, but you have Fant as a backup or Moses as a backup for both spots where you only have Feeney for 3 spots. So it's bad. Either
that's
way.
a good point.
I have 9. That's why I have 9. I don't like the whole 8 thing. I rather have 9 offensive linemen. Like that's my minimum.
Yeah, and Joe Douglas does like offensive linemen. It's just.
So that's why it's like. So let's say Clark doesn't make it. So like this would be my prediction because if Clark is on the IR, which he is, realistically, I think it's probably going to be substitute Clark for McDermott. Once Clark comes back, either David Moore or McDermott goes to the practice squad. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
But yeah, I just can't see them keeping 8. Especially with Becton being a little bit banged up sometimes.
I'm curious to see what your other cuts are and differences are with me then. I'm not changing it though.
Well, we're even right now. We both have 24 players on offense.
Okay.
You just kept an extra, but okay, that's fine. 24 on offense. Who are your defensive tackles?
Okay, so I got JFM.
Sorry, Phil C said, correct me if I'm wrong, but Fant played guard in Seattle. That is incorrect.
Yeah, I don't ever remember him playing that.
No, he played right tackle, left tackle.
JFM, Rankins, Shepard, Quinnen, Jonathan Marshall, and Fatukasi.
6?
Mm-hmm. I'm not counting the edge guys in there.
Okay. I did not count JFM because he's going to be playing defensive end more than defensive tackle this year.
Okay.
But
that might be true to be because they got Rankins now, and because now we don't have Carl Lawson. So maybe, yeah.
This is going to change a lot, and especially with Marshall, that RAS score, him having 2 sacks or a sack and a safety, whatever it was. I add him to the roster last second, but I had the same Q, Fatukasi, Rankins, Shepard, Marshall as my 5 defensive tackles. And a lot of people are kind of talking about like Shepard, like he won't make the roster. But we spoke with this, I think, on the live stream where it was like 2:00 in the morning. Shepard I feel much more comfortable with him being like the primary backup to Fatukasi than Q or Rankins. So I think he's like that more like a, and he's not the same player as Fatukasi. He's really not, because he's a little bit more explosive than Fatukasi and more of like a straight line guy. Like he can't hold it down or anchor down on combos as well as Fatukasi because they're obviously like a 30-pound difference. But I feel like Shepard will be that primary backup to him on the inside. So
Shepard will give you something in the pass rush department. I think some people forget that, but he throws a pretty nice arm over.
Yeah, but people talk about Shepard like, oh, he should be cut. Shepard for a backup defensive lineman is a good role player. Like he is.
I think
Jets are just stacked the defensive line.
He was a 3rd-round pick and maybe never quite lived up to the hype, but he's not a bad player.
But this is when we talk about like, oh, we're going to keep a Yeboah. You're going to keep Yeboah over Nathan Shepard. Why? Nathan Shepard has showed a lot.
Are there really people out there saying that?
100%. There's people who are saying Yeboah is going to be the number 1 tight end out there.
Yeah, I mean, I believe. I haven't seen it myself, but I believe it. I mean,
it's out there.
There are people saying we should keep Sam Darnold.
There's people out there. Yes, it's So moving on from that, we both have the same defensive tackles because I listed JFM as a defensive end. Who are your DNs?
Yeah, it was
Mike.
4.
Mike.
It was. I had 4 of them. Now I have 3: Huff, Curry, and Blair.
Wow.
Am I missing someone that I should have?
Well, you.
I know you don't. I don't consider JFM there, so I didn't put JFM there.
Okay, so you left off one guy who I added on after the Lawson injury. That's what it is.
Okay.
I have Curry, obviously. Blair. Again, people are talking about cutting that guy, like on their roster predictions or whatever. You are underrating what Blair is. Blair is a good run-stuffing defensive end. He
plays with his hair on fire, man. He's tough.
Blair,
dude.
I can guarantee you the coaching staff likes Blair and they're probably going to keep him. JFM, Huff. I have Phillips making the team. I know he's been injured, and I don't know if he's going to start on IR, but he was good in his rookie year.
Yeah, but that's 2 years ago. I don't think he's going to make it. I'd be surprised if he makes it. Okay, so that's one big difference that we have.
Phillips
but you didn't but you didn't have him like you
He was
put him
off-
in since Lawson got
He
hurt,
was,
right?
he's my 53rd player.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I put him in there because I think his potential at defensive end right now, going into his third year with his second year being injured, his first year being pretty solid for a UDFA, is better than what Vincent Smith could be at wide receiver. I just like his potential more to developing into a run stuffing defensive end for the Jets in the future. So that's why I have him there.
Okay.
And it's easier to forget him, obviously, because he hasn't played in a year, See,
He showed a pretty good amount his rookie year, but he was quite
did.
he was quite disappointing since.
Well, he played a couple of games and got injured.
Yeah, but okay. Was it last year that he got injured or the year before that?
No, his rookie year, he was pretty productive.
What was his rookie year? What year was that?
2018 or 2019.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was 2018 or 2019.
No, it was his rookie year. He played well, a lot of pressures, etc. Especially considering he's a UDFA. And then last year he played like 3 games and got injured. So I think he has more potential than.
I just think that like edge and D line, you have so much depth there and so many quality players there. It's hard for a guy like that to get some burn. Whereas someone like Vincent Smith, who's not making your roster, yeah, sure, he might not get that many reps as a true wide receiver, but he's also going to play special teams and stuff.
That's
and
the
you
big
can put him in
difference
certain
special teams.
packages. So
But
I see
special teams
So I see more of an opportunity for Vincent to get on the field
to make an impact.
Yeah.
But like the 7th receiver in an offense that uses more 12 and 21 than Adam Gates did. Like, when is he really going to see the roster unless there's injuries? Minus the special team reps and maybe like an end around or 2 a game.
Yeah, Gase was almost always 11 personnel.
Where like again, I don't want to give up on Phillips after a good rookie year because he got injured last year. Like, we were all pretty high on Phillips last year.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I have that. Let's see. Mike said, any consideration for Smart with JFM listed at the end? I just can't see him making it over Marshall or Shepard right now. But Tanzel Smart, I did the studs and duds last game. He was my number 1 stud in terms of a guy who produced. And like, yeah, there might have been, Huff might have had better plays than him or whatever. But like, for a guy who produced in his position, he was the number 1 stud of the last game. Nobody mentions him because he's not a guy you like to talk about because he's probably the 50th guy on the roster or 60th. But in terms of with something to prove, he balled out, like he has more to prove than Huff does in terms of making the roster, and he played well. So I don't think it will happen, but I wouldn't be mad. But I think Shepard and Marshall are they're going to make it over him. So I have Q, Fadokasi, Rankin, Shepard, Marshall, Curry, Blair, JFM, Huff, Phillips. I have 10 defensive linemen. Your linebackers, Kyle.
Yeah. All right. Let me pull that up. Okay. So I have Mosley, Draw Davis, Hamza, and Sherwood. 4. No Cashman.
Wow. You went light on some groups in terms of the linebackers and the offensive lineman for that 7th receiver. Like, I think having a 5th linebacker is much more important than having a 7th wide receiver.
But he's not just a wide receiver, though. Is the point?
No, I get it, but like in that position, that would probably been Hardy.
But some guys make the roster just for their special teams abilities, and I know that Hardy is going to be the special teams ace for the Jets. But
so in a base 4-3, okay, which is not it's going to happen at times. You only have 4 guys, so if one guy goes down, you have 3 guys, and that's it. You better hope that none of them go down. And you don't have any backups. Linebackers play special teams.
Yeah, I mean, well. If one of them goes down, I mean, sometimes you got to make do in a game. Sometimes you might have to
4 linebackers in a 4-3. 1 backup. You only have 1 backup and a base set.
No,
that's rough. I don't.
It is rough, but they're all going to dress on game day every week.
Because I only did.
Sometimes, but sometimes teams. Okay, so they might have that extra guy, but does he dress?
I think you're trying to justify it.
Do you activate him? No, but I'm making a good argument right now. I
just think the value of having a 5th linebacker or a 9th offensive lineman is much better than having a 7th wide receiver.
Sometimes you get fucked in a game when a guy goes down. Then you know what happens if he's out for an extended period of time? You pick up a guy on waivers.
Then you have the wide receiver playing quarterback like the Broncos did last year.
Yeah, that was a unique situation.
Yeah, I severely
I think
doubt
I'm
they only had
valuing
4.
special teams a little bit more than you too, because I might have another guy that you don't have, but we'll wait for that. Based on our
I just don't see 4 linebackers. That's because I went 5, and I still think that's thin.
So you have Cashman there?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Okay.
Mosley, Davis, Cashman, Nazarly, and Sherwood. Safeties.
Part of my thinking too was Cashman wasn't a Joe Douglas pick.
Yeah, but he's a linebacker who's at least when he's healthy is somewhat capable. Like you have 4 guys
capable,
there.
Somewhat capable. What are you talking about?
You have 1 backup linebacker. You have 7 wide receivers on a 12 and 21 heavy personnel team where there's going to be 2 wide receivers. So you have like backups upon backups upon backups because of special teams. Like these guys might actually need to see time. So to a certain extent, yeah, you might be valuing special teams more, but I'm valuing some guys going to go down and you need some backups to play.
Yeah, that's true.
So, okay. Safety, we're going to have the same 4, I'm assuming. May, Joyner, Davis, Niesman.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think that's maybe JT Hassel makes it into there.
No way.
I don't. Yeah, I severely doubt it. Niesman's, he's an okay backup. He's not a good backup. He's an okay at best backup. Davis, we'll see when he gets healthy. May, Joyner are obviously the starters. Corners. This was one which got interesting. But who are your corners? How many guys do you have corner? Because we have the same.
I have 9 at corner, but I only had 8. But when Lawson got hurt, I added.
Hold on, how do you have 9?
How do I have 9?
Did you do your math right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
We both had.
I counted it several times. Here's the deal. I had 3 edge rushers, or excuse me, I had 4 edge rushers, including Carl Lawson. When Carl Lawson got hurt, I switched it. I took him out. So now I have 3 edge rushers. I had 8 corners prior to the Lawson injury. Now I have 9.
We both have 24 on offense, right?
Okay.
You had 9 on defensive. Oh, well, you had 9 on defensive line and 4 on the linebackers. You had 9 corners. I don't know if I've ever seen a team carry 9 corners.
It's not all just because of corners.
Or 8.
So, 2 of these guys are special teams players.
I know exactly who you have. I know exactly your team right now. But
I have 2 of them are mostly for special teams.
I cannot imagine the Jets carrying 8 corners and only having 4 linebackers and only having 8 offensive linemen. I just don't see that as being proper.
Honestly, you're probably convincing me that I should cut one of these corners and add David Moore.
That's a lot of corners to have on your roster when you only have one backup interior offensive lineman,
especially since they're very unproven.
So okay, yeah, exactly. So and it was a tough cut. I didn't like the cuts I made at corner, but you have 1 backup linebacker and 1 backup interior offensive lineman, but you have 8 corners and 7 receivers. At a certain point, you got to make tough cuts.
I know. Okay. You're convincing me. I'm going to I have my heels dug in with some of these arguments.
That's fine.
But I can realize and say, you know what? All right. He's making a good point, and I can admit to changing. So here's what I'm going to do. The person I'm going to cut, some people aren't going to be very happy based on what I'm hearing in training camp. I have Eccles. I'm cutting him. I'm adding David Moore on the offensive line. Despite the fact that I haven't seen jack shit from him.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I'm not adding Cashman. Fuck Cashman. Sorry, Cashman.
So you still have 7 corners, 7 receivers.
Stop with the corners. Some of these guys are special teams guys.
I get it, but they can still play in a pinch.
Yeah.
So okay, so I have Hall.
I have eight corners, including.
I thought you said you had 9 and then you had 8, and now you have 7.
No. I had 8 before the Lawson injury.
Yeah.
Lawson got hurt. I added Eccles. Okay. Now I'm cutting Eccles' ass again.
You still have 8?
Yes, I have 2 corners that are mostly for special teams.
I still think you're crazy having 8 corners and only 1 backup linebacker in a 4-3, but beyond me.
But you might convince me again that I'm having poor roster management.
Dude,
Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Way too many corners and way too
Here's
many
the deal.
receivers.
Here's
And you
the
only have
deal.
one backup linebacker.
All right,
It's five is thin.
both of these guys blows this corners. Let's be honest. All right. So Justin Hardy sucks as a corner. Valentine sucks as a corner. All right.
Valentine just got cut.
He did get cut?
Yes. So there's your guy. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
He's not on the team.
Now,
He was terrible. He got roasted last game.
oh no, I know he sucks as a corner, but he's not bad as a special teams player. But
You were gonna keep-
but I'll tell you this: the
Valentine
Jets,
over Cashman?
Cashman sucks, man.
Dude, Valentine sucks. Cashman
No,
sucks.
I know he
Valentine
sucks as a
really
corner,
sucks.
but not as a special teams player. I was only keeping him for special teams, but they have Justin Hardy though.
Hardy's
So-
a stud.
So my thinking is, I think I put too much of an emphasis on special teams.
So I got you to concede on two players.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I can realize when I have flaws.
That's fine. I admitted my flaws with Mike White. That's if you can't admit your flaws, I wouldn't want you on the show because then there's no reason for
All right.
discussion.
So I put Cashman there, even though I really don't want to, but whatever.
Dude, you have to have some type of backup linebacker.
I now have 5 linebackers and 7 corners. And I think, and my problem is this, I put too much of an emphasis on special teams. Like,
so we both have 9
here's the deal.
offensive linemen, right?
you don't
9
need
offensive
too
linemen.
many special teams aces. And the Jets definitely gave a hefty contract for a special teams ace in Hardy. It makes no sense for them to also keep another guy at the same exact position in a cornerback in Valentine. So that was kind of dumb for me to put him there. But I only put him there for his special teams ability, which he's not a bad special teams player.
You have 1 less defensive lineman, but you have 8 corners.
I have 7 corners now.
So where's your? Oh,
I cut Valentine and I cut Eccles.
So right now our roster is basically you're carrying Vincent Smith, where I'm carrying what's it called? Phillips. Vincent Smith versus Phillips.
Yeah.
Another poll.
That's the difference.
53rd man on the roster drafted Vincent Smith or Phillips. You're gonna win that because receiver's a more sexy position. He just played well, and Phillips hasn't played in a year. Nobody's gonna vote for me there.
I didn't say to put up a poll.
No, we're doing the one poll. We're already doing one. Okay. So
Verge, is Cashman good on special teams? I mean,
he's fast.
I gotta be honest. I don't watch special teams. Like when I watch the coach's film, I'll watch a play easily 10 times over, depending on what kind of play it is. Special teams plays, I pretty much only watch them one time through. I'm trying to think out in my mind, what type of good special teams play have I seen from Cashman? Has he made any good ones?
I don't know.
So
you must have enjoyed the Justin Hardy breakdown. That was a fun breakdown to do.
Oh yeah. I told you it was good.
Yeah, it was
Dude,
fun.
Remember, it's like plays like 5 and 6 or 6 and 7 are 2 amazing back-to-back plays in that review that Blewett did.
So my 7, we'll see if they match up with yours because you just cut yours down to 7. You had to cut both Ballantyne and Eccles. Mm-hmm. I wish this is more because I think this is what the team will do than what I would do. I wish I can carry one corner over another, but unfortunately,
I know the difference. I
have to carry one. Yes, I know exactly. I guarantee you know what I'm doing right now. Hall, Pinnock, Carter II, Guidry, Eccles, Hardy, Bless Austin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I would carry Isaiah Dunn if it was up to me because Bless Austin is trash.
Yeah. And I think that part of you wants to take Dunn over Eccles, but I think part of you is listening to, and it obviously you saw more on the college film from Dunn than you did of Eccles, but you just really haven't. So Dunn didn't play in the Giants game, and you haven't been hearing as rave reviews from camp. So
I've heard more of Eccles with the first team. I've heard more of Eccles having a bunch of PDs. I've heard
and Eccles was drafted and Dunn wasn't.
Eccles was drafted, Dunn wasn't. And my problem was like, okay, you're giving Dunn this big contract for a corner. So now you're going to cut him for fucking Bless Austin.
Well, here's my thinking too. Dunn still has 2 games to prove himself. So the way I thought about it was, I don't care. I didn't see much from Eccles in that Giants game.
Minus the big pass deflection.
The big pass, dude. Honestly, the big pass deflection. I don't even give him much of a positive on that.
It should have been an interception.
He should have went up with two hands. He didn't go up with two hands.
Interception.
There's no reason why he should have went up with just. Why did he go up with just one arm?
I have no idea.
That made no sense. He's trying to make a spectacular one-handed catch. No, go up with two hands. You might catch the damn thing. He could have caught that. That was so people gave him a praise for that. Like, honestly, that's kind of a knock. And then he had the huge pass interference penalty. So what was really the positives there? Like
it's been, and it's not as much about the Giants game. It's more about what I've heard in camp from him. I gave him that spot. This
was one of the hardest ones. I went back and forth with it, but I was thinking, okay, I
saw way more from Dunn.
I saw way more from Dunn on his college film. So I'm thinking and hoping that in the next two games, he still has a chance to show himself out. And I do believe that he's the superior player. So when all is said and done, it'll be him.
So the argument right now, and we'd both agree, I think on this argument, is head versus heart. Your head says Eccles, your heart says Dunn, because we both like Dunn more.
Yeah.
If you had to bet your house on it, you're saying it's going to be Eccles over Dunn, though. Dunn's been injured, hasn't been playing. I haven't heard him as much with the starters. I haven't heard him as much with practice.
He was drafted, so
they invested a 6th round pick in him. They like him clearly more than Dunn. So
yeah.
Now we could eliminate this all.
What can happen if Dunn balls out in the next two games? Okay.
Listen, but if
dude, maybe Pinnock will get cut. Like, are we that certain that Pinnock?
He's a 5th round pick. I don't see him being cut.
5th round picks get cut all the time.
If they cut Pinnock, who I think he's a super interesting player, really, like, again, great plays, really bad plays, great play, bad play. It just that's how his film is. If they cut Pinnock for Bless Austin, I will not be happy. That is for damn sure. Because if it was up to me right now, Austin's off the roster and done. Because Austin has proven nothing to me in 2 years. He's bad. I don't care. Oh, he hits hard. Oh, he's the best corner in the league. Oh, he's good.
By the way,
nothing.
By the way, you watched the last episode of One Jets Drive, right?
With the Reese, yeah.
Yeah. So did you see that play where Moore caught the long pass in the green and white scrimmage that I was talking about?
I don't know if I was like laser focused on it, maybe as much as you were.
So I was talking about that play that, and watching it in higher quality, it confirmed that Wilson purposely threw it outside. So it was like a slant that,
you said that
Elijah Moore was running, and Bless really tried to undercut it and pick it off. And instead of throwing it inside like you normally would on that type of play, Wilson hung it to the outside. And I think it was intentional. So that was really nice. And the reason I'm bringing it up right now is because we're talking about Bless Austin, and he was obviously on defense in that play.
Like, what good plays has he made in coverage in the last 2 years?
I can't think. Does he have any interceptions? Like even like a lucky pick, like where the ball was deflected or something? I can't really think of any. I mean, he had a couple nice like tackles where he hit someone in the flat.
But then with that, there's another 3 behind that are missed tackles.
I know.
Like, oh, he's a good tackler. Yeah, because you saw him on broadcast hit a guy once or twice. But like,
even though he might make the roster, watch, he starts getting cooked in the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut in the season.
I would just be mad. Me personally, if Pinnock or Eccles or Dunn are on the practice squad and Austin's on the team while they get picked up by another team, I will not be happy. Because Dunn, I liked his college film like a lot. Considering he's a UDFA, if he was a 5th round pick, 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, I might have been a little bit more watch with a more like what's the word, like a hard eye, or more like be more critical of him. Which I'm fair in all my reviews. I review a player like they're a 1st round pick or a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick, but in general, I really liked his value for being a UDFA, and I like him a lot more than Austin. So whatever. Practice squad. Do you have anybody on the practice squad?
I
wrote down a couple.
I didn't know you want me to do that, so I didn't.
I know. I wrote down a couple guys. James Morgan, Elijah Campbell, who's the slot corner, who's been doing okay apparently in camp, making some noise. Tanzel Smart, who I really liked last game against the Giants. DJ Montgomery is a guy who I heard a lot about in camp.
Tanzel Smart was with a different team last year, right?
I forget, to be honest. I have no idea.
Okay.
Tanzel Smart, DJ Montgomery, Rashid Jr. I like him. In terms of being a UDFA, like I think he's okay. Kenny Yeboah, I guess, is a UDFA, is going to make it, but like you can't even guarantee me that he should make the practice squad over Elijah Campbell, Smart, DJ Montgomery, Rashid. I have JT Hassel because I heard he made some plays apparently in camp. Dwumfor I have in there, Isaiah Dunn, Jabari Zuniga, and Vincent Smith. Kyle, you want to hit the chat real quick or discuss that? And I have to hit the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. So I'll go through
ahead.
the chat while you go do your thing. All right. So let's see. So I already addressed what Verge said about Cashman on special teams. I don't know that I got an answer from that. Yeah, the Ballantyne thing was a definite over. I completely didn't factor in the amount of value that they're giving for Hardy, and it doesn't make sense to have two corners who are special teams aces. That was a big face palm on my behalf. Devontae Adams will cook everyone. Yeah, no shit. He cooks everyone anyway. Lamar Jackson giving up that bomb against the Raiders last season. Yeah, it just goes to show Lamar Jackson's just not that athletic. Watch Blewett's breakdown of this past Giants game, and you're going to see right off the – I don't know who the Giants receiver was. He's some no-name backup receiver. But Lamar Jackson, I mean, like right off the snap, he's got poor footwork. He's hopping back. His both feet are leaving the ground immediately. And then he tries to shoot both arms, locking his hips out. So he loses right off the snap. And then he's got like a 4.6 speed, which is very slow for a corner. So when you're losing that quick off the snap, you're going to get cooked deep. And he got beat deep there. Henry Ruggs, there's no way he's going to run with someone like Henry Ruggs. So Lamar Jackson, I mean, like, you know, maybe a good college player, but you can't run 4.6 in the NFL. I mean, like, if you're going to run 4.6 in the NFL, like Richard Sherman's 4.6, but Richard Sherman had a really, really good jam. Richard Sherman was very good. I mean, Richard Sherman had very long arms. Richard Sherman had amazing hands, and he understood the game very well, knew when to jump routes and things like that. So Sherman is like a very rare exception of like a 4.6 corner who's actually good. Lamar Jackson doesn't have any of those positives that someone like Sherman has. So
somebody talk about Richard Sherman in the chat.
So someone's talking about Lamar Jackson, the Jets corner.
Oh, dude.
So I brought up the play that you were talking about, where immediately right off the snap, you know, he's hopping back, leaving both his feet in the air, and then he shoots both his arms, locking his hips, and he loses right off the snap. And it's like if you're going to be really slow,
have you become a corner snob, Kyle?
Yeah, you're making me that way. Yeah. So if you're gonna be really slow and unathletic, you have to have flawless technique. Now that's piss poor technique, plus the fact that you're 4.6. If you're losing really early in the snap like that, you don't have a shot in hell to catch.
You got to be Eccles. You got to be one of those bursty guys.
Yeah.
Trav G says it was a short-term rebuild, but he said something before that. At this point, playoffs are probably out of the window. Just hoping to see progress from the young guys in common coaching. Yeah, I think we're both on the same kind of wavelength, Kyle, with that. Like, I think at the maximum with Carl Lawson, all these guys healthy, like we thought like 9-10 wins, like everything goes right, you know, comparing to the 2015 Jets like we did earlier in the stream, they can make it. Now with this injury, I think we're happy with 7-8 wins, and like 6 is like the floor of us being like, okay, but anything less than 6 wins, I'm not going to be happy with. But I think them just competing in November, in the beginning of December, just to be like in that CBS graphic, like, competing for the wild card spot. Like, I'm happy with that. And you want to see the young guys progress. You want to see Zach Wilson look good. You want to see fucking Robert Saleh not, you know, kick a field goal when you're down 12 points with 3 minutes left, like Adam Gase did, like little shit like that. So that's all of our expectations now. See the young guys play well, and see competent coaching. But yeah, it knocks us out of that potential wild card spot, I would think. You know, he's definitely the difference between a win or two. He'll come up with that big sack in the fourth quarter that you're not going to get now from a Huff. Like, and we like Huff and all that shit, but like, you know,
I think from a game plan strategic standpoint, I hate to beat a dead horse, but losing Lawson completely changes the way that you play defense. You now are putting yourself in a situation where you're trying to purposely scheme up more pressure, where you can't just rely on 4 guys getting to the quarterback. Okay, you think you're good? We're going to rush 4 and drop 7 in coverage, beat us.
Yeah.
You can't do that all the time now. I mean, this is a huge, enormous loss.
I still think they will, to be honest, more often than not, but there will be some more blitzes where they'll put some more pressure on the corners than there was in the past. Eugene says it's going to be more like 6 or 7 realistically. But you never know, might be a Cinderella team. Again, And I know the Jets were super fluky in 2018 under Gase, but this is still a better team than we had in 2018, like pretty easily, in my opinion. So we could definitely win 7 or 8.
Yeah, they got lucky.
But,
I mean, like they got lucky with some teams like
Oh,
Ben.
100%.
They didn't play against Big Ben with
100%.
the Steelers. So.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm saying that happens in a season. Trav says Lawson's a guy the offense has a game plan for. Yeah, and that's the thing that I don't know if you were watching before. I didn't see before, but Kyle and I talked about it. Like, listen, and obviously there's a ton of benefits of having a top 5 to 10 edge rusher in the league. But one of the things we consistently mentioned was the fact that he would really help Quinnen Williams out in terms of there are some plays you're inevitably going to have to double Lawson. But there's been other plays, obviously, to double Q. And I feel like they're going to share double teams more, where now there's no way if you're going to, you're going to not double Q versus other guys on the roster. Like there's nobody else who's, for lack of a better term, double teamable, minus like a Rankins who rounds out to like his 2018 form. Like if Rankins is consistently what he was in 2020 in some snaps, you might double him on some plays depending on the look. But Lawson took a lot of pressure off Q, and that's another problem with the team right now too. So
yeah, I think a lot of teams were going to have either like a tight end come in and play like on the wing or put like a back to chip Lawson. And now they're not going to have to do that. And now you can put that extra blocker somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah. Losing him definitely changes the way you're going to have to play defense, and it's going to change the way that the other team can play their offense.
Dude, you're looking big loss. You're looking at like with Lawson, Kyle, if you had to bet, and again, screw the rankings. I don't give a shit like about what PFF, any of those people say. If you had to bet on like your evaluation of however good a defensive line is, you know what I'm saying? Where do you think the Jets finished? Like the number this year with Lawson as obviously on the team?
Definitely top 5.
But okay. So you think like 5 or 4?
Okay. Well, I think Washington's probably 1.
Oh Jesus, we already went through all this shit, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We had the 49ers up there too.
49ers, yep. Pittsburgh. We had who else am I thinking? The Rams weren't on there because it's Donald and like Brockers is gone now. You have
it was
Floyd.
It was our 3rd stream, so we're talking a solid month ago now. That we did this one.
Our 3rd stream.
No, like because we've been
streaming since like August.
No, I said 3 streams ago is what I said. That's what I meant to say. Hopefully,
okay, I think you said our 3rd stream. That's why I got fucked up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my bad for misspeaking.
Okay, so I just forget what we did because like the last time I
think we for certain had them top 5, but we said okay, definitely Washington over them. We definitely had some discussion back and forth with the 49ers because the 49ers, I mean, like, they lost some people. They don't have why am I forgetting his name right now? The dude from Oregon. They traded him to the Colts.
Buckner?
Yeah. So like there was, we had some discussion there.
Pittsburgh, we had discussion.
Because like Pittsburgh has some older guys. Like
Cam Hayward and
like Hayward's really good, but he's
Stephon
also old.
Tuitt's good. Mm-hmm. TJ Watt's good. They have somebody else on that line too. Who was the other guy? They just lost Bud Dupree.
Yeah. So
let me see the teams. I know we mentioned somebody else too, but yeah, I would say probably right on the money 5. And the difference between 5 and 3 may be their secondary. So like, and that's something that we talk about, like when we're talking like, oh, I don't give a crap about what anybody else says, DVOA, PFF. So you have to consider the secondary and like those rankings, but in your rankings, it might be different, So like maybe that's unfair saying 5 because in Kyle Smith or Joe Blewett's rankings, I'm not considering the corners. I'm just considering the defensive line. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care about stats. Pats, no. Steelers. Let me say, we talked about the Bears a little bit, but we voted the Jets over the Bears. Other than that, the Browns. We talked about the Browns.
Right? Yeah, that was a good one. And we could talk about that one again a little bit because Miles is definitely edge 1 in the NFL right now. And I think there's very little serious debate about who's edge 1. I mean, just when you combine like
if there's one guy I'm the most afraid to go against in 1 week, it's Myles Garrett. Yeah.
Yeah. And they still have OV, who's still very solid coming off the other edge. In terms of but they're a little lacking a little bit. We're definitely more solid on the interior. Who do they have on the interior?
I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm forgetting.
Because they don't have Sheldon Richardson anymore.
No, he went to like the what team is he on right now? They have Malik Jackson, Jordan Elliott, Sheldon Day, Andrew Billings, Marvin Wilson.
Yeah, so their interior is
I'm still doing the Jets,
definitely a notch down below us.
but regardless, I think they'll finish 5 or 4. Now, let's say like a 2-spot range. I think they'll probably finish 10 or 11.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, we'd really have to kind of really pull up the roster
Go through
for
all
each team.
Generally, yeah. Just
Someone said the Packers D line looks good. Oh, Vernon is a free agent. My bad. Thanks, Pete.
Pete Grove,
dude. We should think about signing OV. Seriously. After the Lawson loss, of course.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
Packers D line. So you got the Smith brothers. And
then
who's the interior guy that
Kenny? Is it Kenny Clark? Is his name?
Yeah. Okay.
Kenny Clark was really good, but other than that, I don't think there's anyone who stands out. You're talking about it's so goddamn frustrating that we're talking about Kenny Clark and Zadarius Smith and Preston.
And by the
Smith.
way, Carl Lawson is definitely better than the Smith.
He's
brothers.
better than both the Smith brothers by
far. Easily.
So and again, like for the people who are like new, like there's definitely people who are new in here. Like I there just is maybe not everybody's new, but like just watch the review of Lawson. He dominates. I put out 3 hours of film on the guy. He dominates people. I don't care about the sacks. I don't care about anything.
Lawson.
Nobody else is helping him.
Dude, Lawson. I mean, injuries. I mean, I don't know if there's any other reason why, he never got as much playing time in Cincinnati, but he's had just such an unfortunate string of injuries in his career. But just based on pure traits, he has some elite level traits in terms of edge rushers. Like he has some special traits, and I don't use those words lightly in terms of edge rushers.
What are the 5 I always bring up? I'm going to forget on the top of my head right now because I've had a couple of beers. Burst, bend, length, technique.
Yeah, so he's definitely lacks
burst, bend, length, technique, and there's one more I'm looking for.
So
I forget.
His length is definitely
strength.
So his strength is amazing. His burst is amazing.
Okay. Technique. Yes.
Technique's good. I wouldn't label that one special.
It's good though.
He does have pretty good bend, although that's I wouldn't call him a special bender either.
But you also have to consider the difference, and like I'm not sure if you are or not. I'm just trying to be further discussion. The difference between bending as a 270-pound defensive end and an outside linebacker is different. A guy like Josh Allen might have to bend more than a Carl.
What is Von Miller's weight?
If I had to bet like 245, 250, top of my head. Let's see. That's just a guess.
I'm curious because Lawson's a good 265. So Von Miller is the best bender that we can think about. Okay. So there's a decent difference.
He has 25 pounds on him. No, I think 15. Lawson's like 270.
No, he's 260. He's listed at 265.
Really? I'm like, it's like hurting me to Google Carl Lawson right now. Yeah, 265. This is also a picture of him in like his like rookie year. So I don't know if that's.
Hey, listen, Lawson can come back. I mean, he's definitely a tenacious type of dude he knows how to fight through an injury.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he wants to prove himself to the Jets fan base and stuff. So he certainly can come back. It's just, we have to at least question it because Terrell Suggs is one example.
Yeah. Just
Cameron Wake's another example, but I don't think there are too many examples other than those two guys of edge rushers, guys who, really need to have a quick burst out of their stance, who've come back and been really successful. I mean, this is a more serious injury, I would say, than an ACL.
Yeah. Just had FYI, T-Sizzle ruptured his Achilles, but then had a career year. Lawson fought off 2 ACL tears and got even better after those injuries. Yeah, you're just stacking the deck against the guy, So it is what it is. And Suggs was more of like a power guy over an explosive guy to me, power and technique, where Lawson has power and technique, but he's much more explosive and relies on it more than Suggs does.
Yeah. Lawson,
which is more dependent on your Achilles, on your ACL.
Yeah. Lawson definitely has he's in a different tier in terms of explosiveness than Terrell Suggs.
Mm-hmm. We're going to close it out. If you guys have any questions,
I brought up Pete. I brought up Cameron Wake. Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, like
and
he's
another.
Let me know.
Cameron Wake is another rare example of Cameron Wake is a fucking freak, dude. He had like a 44-inch vertical jump. Cameron Wake.
Wow.
Yeah, and like he played as a linebacker in college. He put on a lot of weight in Miami, and he still maintained his speed and explosiveness.
Oh,
and he was good at like 33, 34, 35 years old. Like he didn't start playing in the NFL until he was like 27, 28.
Because he played in the CFL, right? Or something like that.
Yeah. Rare dude.
While we wait for a question or two, just because again, we're gonna log off. It's been 3.5 hours. It's been a while. Again, email me either Blewett Joe, BLEWETT Joe, JOE at yahoo.com, or email me at Joe.Blewett, same spelling, at Jets with an S, xfactor.com. We have 3 spots in both the fantasy league, $25 buy-in, 16 teams. So it's like a minimal bet, but you can win a couple $100 and just to talk shit. And the same thing with the pick'ems, which is at the end of every show that I do the film breakdown. I pick like 5-6 games. We do pick them, and if you win either one of those, I'll send you a shirt and a free subscription, and maybe another shirt and whatever else. And then you can just talk shit to Kyle and I for the whole year that you're on the live stream, because you're smarter than us. So do that. But a couple of questions with mentioning that. F Monks, who I don't know if I've seen before. Maybe I have. What about edge rushers next draft? Which, by the way, I always feel like I say I haven't seen this guy before. If you comment all the time, like Mike and Verge and Eagle and all these guys, I know you, but unless you comment a lot, there's hundreds of people in here, and then I'm talking to Kyle, I'm talking about football, and I just forget you. So I apologize if I said that, and you've commented before. Pete, the guy comments a lot. Eugene, I'll remember Eugene. EE, I know. Don't know if I've seen Trav before. Keyshawn Praj. I call him Praj. I don't know how to say his name. He's been in here. F Monks asks, what about edge rushers next draft? Do you like anyone early, or should we solidify our interior offensive line?
So people keep talking about this guy, Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon. And I did watch a little bit of him when I was watching AVT's film, and he does look pretty good. One of the Draft Network dudes threw out the comparison to Javon Curse, the former Titans and Eagles edge rusher from way back when.
Comparisons, to be honest. I hate him.
I was too young at the time to really watch Curse that closely to know if that comparison has legitimacy. But people are saying like he's like a freaky like type edge rusher, and maybe the best. I don't see him as being as good as Chase Young or Myles Garrett. He does look good though, and he does look like he has some borderline elite traits, but I
don't think the Jets are gonna be high enough to draft him anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have like a top 3 pick to get him, and
that's based on this year, because Gregory Rousseau was supposed to go in the top 10 last year at the same time, so we don't know. And like a lot of people talk about Stingley, and apparently Stingley had a down year last year, so Stingley might be a guy who drops just like who was the corner who dropped this year like a lot. Ohio State. Was it Ohio State? Who was that corner who dropped like to the
I know who you're talking about.
And he was supposed to be like a top 15 pick.
Yeah, he went really late. I know who you're talking.
So,
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Monks, to be completely transparent, Kyle and I are transparent. If we haven't watched a guy extensively or know a lot about them, I'm not going to bullshit you and be like, I love Stingley and I love Thibodeau because I watched 5 minutes of fucking YouTube highlights like a lot of people do. I won't do that, so I don't know. Now, I think we both agree, Kyle, that right guard, tight end, corner, and probably edge rusher are the top 4 needs on the team going forward. And you could argue edge if Huff really takes a step in the right direction. Carl Lawson kind of you see his injury going well or whatever, then maybe you could flex that to like safety. I could see them drafting a safety high too, because May is not here in 2022. Joyner's not here in 2022. Unless you sign one of those guys, you're stuck with, Ashton Davis.
I think everyone thinks Houston's going to be the number 1 pick. And yeah, I'm with you on what you said. Yeah, Houston's going to be horrible.
Sean Wade. Thank you, Pete.
Sean
and
Wade,
Matt.
Pete and Matt. Yeah, that's definitely who we were thinking of.
Yeah, like round 4 or whatever. He's supposed to be like a top 10 pick, and then he just fell off the face of the earth. So like all these people, like Stingley and Thibodeau.
He had like a pick 6, like really early on in the year, and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, Sean Wade. I expect him to be a nice first round corner this year." And he just kept getting roasted as the season went on.
So Kyle, before we log off, top 5 needs going into next year if the roster say the same right now. What would you say?
Didn't you just say them?
I said them not in order.
Well, corner for sure. I mean, I know we have a lot of young guys, but so corner's 1. May will probably be gone, so safety. And I'm not putting them in order. I'm just giving you 5.
I asked for them in order though, but it's okay. I specifically asked for them in order, but if you're just gonna,
I'll say corner number 1 just because of value.
Okay, corner number 1.
Okay.
Safety's largely dependent on if they tag May again or if they sign Joyner again. But let's just say there's no way both of them are gonna be gone.
I'll say safety too,
just in case.
Yeah.
I would say right guard is 3 for me. Even though I would want a tight end more, but I really want to surround Zach Wilson. So I would say right guard 3.
I was going to go, guard and then tight end 4. What do you have as 5th?
5th biggest need. We have tight end, right guard. Is Fant back? Is Moses back? Right tackle.
I have to imagine one of them will be back.
Okay, so let's say one of them are back. Running back, you could skip over. So I'm gonna say it depends on how the season goes. But running back, linebacker, depending how
I would say linebacker. They're gonna draft another running back or 2 next year. So
in like the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah.
So, or sign a
linebacker
for like $3 million. Yeah, linebacker, and then hopefully you have even as a depth guy. Like I'm not saying that Nazaruddin and Davis can't work out, but let's not be optimistic on every single position. Somebody's gonna bust out. I don't think it's Nazaruddin, but maybe it's Davis. But the thing with Davis, even if he plays well, is he's on a 1-year contract. What's to say he's going to sign back with the Jets? Especially considering Joe Douglas is a cap type guy. Let's see if there's any questions, then we'll close it out.
Rule of thumb: draft at least 1 running back every year.
Yeah, and like next year, like looking at it, like in terms of like seeing like your top 3 in your rotation. Like again, Jets fans, we try to justify stuff to ourselves, but do you really want P. Ryan taking a bunch of snaps? Do you really want Coleman taking a bunch of snaps? Like I'm comfortable with Ty Johnson, and that's a loose comfortable because he's relatively unproven, and Michael Carter. But past that, I don't really know. Mike says right guard, D end, tight end, cornerback, and center for me. Yeah, but McGovern's here for another year after this year, and he's an average-ish center, so it's not like he's old. So you could.
Can they cut him after this year though, and like not have a big dead cap hit?
Yeah, like you can get rid of him.
Like let's say he's garbage this year,
Yeah, but no, you can get rid of him. But to say that you rather have McGovern or what's the other need we said? We said right guard, DN, tight end, corner, and we said safety. So you rather have.
Here's the thing about
McGovern or
thinking about replacing. Here's the thing about thinking about replacing McGovern. For you to like the odds that you're going to get a center that's better in free agency than him is pretty rare, and the odds that you're going to draft a guy that's going to be better than him for next year. I mean, like, of course you could draft a guy and maybe he develops into being better than McGovern, but for next year, the odds that you could either sign a guy or draft a guy and that he's going to be better than McGovern is pretty slim.
Exactly. So if you're talking about McGovern or an upgrade over Joyner, like I'd rather have McGovern. So let me see if there's anything else. Then we'll close out, Kyle. It's been 3 hours and 40 minutes. All right, that is it. I'm going to screw up the end. You're inevitably going to see me and Kyle just staring at the screen because I don't know how to end it just right on the money like that. Because the last time I looked at it, I was just staring at the screen for 10 seconds, like with a dumbass look on my face. But like I said,
people are gonna be like awkward pause. So
yeah,
here, why don't I just bullshit and talk while you close it
and
out?
then just cut you out in the middle of a sentence because nobody cares what you're talking about anyway.
Yeah. So people in the
talk
chat
talk about why you rather have. No, well, let me do this first, and then you can talk about it because it's a point that's not gonna make sense anyway. Again, Blewett Joe at Yahoo, Joe Blewett at Just X Factor. 3 spots open in the Pick'em, 3 spots open in the Fantasy League. Don't be afraid to compete because I would love to see some of you guys in here. Pete, Matt, a bunch of these people are in here all the time. I know Mike's already in there, but step up, grow some balls or some ovaries, whichever way you feel comfortable with. It's 2021. Let's see you try to beat me or Kyle, because I think Kyle's going to suck at fantasy based on his roster construction of this 53-man roster prediction. So you can easily beat Kyle. I don't know if he'll beat me.
How did our roster construction go when you had Braxton Berrios, Keelan Cole, and Jamison Crowder?
Dude, if you really want to, if we really broke that down, like
61% of people said my roster was better.
If you're going to take,
though you're the one with the big Twitter following and stuff, and the show's named after you.
If you're gonna be the guy who's relying on Twitter opinions to back you up, then it is what
Twitter opinions. You're always praising about how smart the people are in the chat, and most people in the chat said my roster is better too.
I don't think Matt's on Twitter. Eugene, I don't think any of these people are on Twitter.
Robbie Sabo said my roster's better.
Robbie Sabo's trying to be nice to you because he's trying to get you to write articles for us. That's it. That's it. He told me after. No, okay,
he did that.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, so you try to close this out while I'll just talk about what people are saying in the chat, and I'll talk about fan.
Hold on. Mike says, thanks, guys. It was a good time. Appreciate you, Mike, as always. Verge says, yep, good show, guys. Verge, I didn't know he's a big supporter. I did not know he's going to step up to the plate and do fantasy and the pick'em this year. So we're going to see what Verge is made of.
And I won the pick'em last year too. So.
And apparently,
he's talking a lot of shit, Blewett.
Mike is admitting that he sucks at fantasy, so we'll see. And then Rob from England also said it's his first year in fantasy, so he might be one of those guys who drafts like Tom
I'll say
Brady
this
in the first
about
round.
Fantasy. I haven't played fantasy in a couple years, but I've played fantasy in the past, and I've been pretty competitive with it. The problem is I've never played with money on the line before, so I've always played in these leagues where people don't take it really seriously. It's the first time I've ever played with money on the line, so people will take it more serious. So I'm excited for that.
The one league is $25, which is
I know. It's cheap. It's something though.
You're in another league with me that's 100, which is a little bit more. The Dynasty League, you're taking that over for the long term, so we'll see how that is. Eugene, appreciate you. Eugene, you said good show. I don't know if I've seen you before, so I appreciate you for joining in.
That's the first time I noticed Eugene.
Yeah, I've never noticed Eugene, so definitely come in again. And for all the people who, and I'm sure Kyle will talk about it. Live streams, go watch the film reviews. Like, I love the live streams and love talking to Kyle, but the film reviews are the main thing of JetX. So go watch those and you'll learn
the main thing that Blewett does on JetX. Don't throw shade at Michael Nani.
Oh no, I'm saying me, obviously, but like, you're gonna learn a lot more about watching the Giants breakdown than you're going to hear about us talking about random topics everybody else talks about.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Yeah. I mean, listen, our show, I'd like to think is. Close it out, Joe. It's going to take you time to close that. So just close it out. If I get cut off, I get cut off. We'd like to think our show's definitely different than some of these other guys' shows because we do talk more about like film and technique and things like that, and maybe a little bit more about scheme, but we still do talk about storylines and stuff. But you definitely, in terms of getting more of that stuff, the more in depth with the film and the player technique and stuff, watch Blewett's breakdowns. You'll get a lot more of that than you get from this, which you still get some of this. So, yeah. Let's see. Don't.